I know. Listen, I realize everybody's extremely excited. We do have the great Jeff Grubb here tonight and Dreamcast guy. Please take a seat. We're actually on time. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. No, I really do appreciate it, guys. We have a great show for you tonight. And as I already mentioned, some special guests on to really kind of get us through this very dry time in gaming because there's a lot to talk about. Games are still coming out. Nothing's stopping there. And we still have information that we need to figure out when it comes to next-gen consoles. That being said, let me just say this much first and foremost. Let me say thank you to all the Mooch Maniacs out there. You guys mean the world to me. The join button that is right above the description, it helps the channel, it helps Mooch, and it helps us grow. So that being said, let me say thank you to each one individually. Shout out to Sir X-Man, Masshole 1977, Midway Monster, JudaZuk, WoolleyGamer, Ben Link, TrueWiddy, The Wise Old Gamer, Failed Pyromancer, Frostbite Slash, EDM Gamer Records, Jacob Evans, Tactical Gamer, and then our major Mooch Maniacs 4-star General, Matt Bradley, Shaun Slamka, Lucifer, and our Brian Blades is our AKA Delirium Blades, our VIP Mooch Maniacs, Remarkable Knights, Van, aka the Butcher Van, Rich Kreiser, Rated D Demonic, Doggy Dog 420, and the great Percolator 9000. Our honorable mentions are Wrath the Emperor, Marty Bison, and the great Wilmy Hood. Shout out to Wilmy Hood. He's done so much for the channel, and we really appreciate Wilmy's support. And the forever Mooch Maniac, Longshot 316. Guys, I got to be honest with you. It's going to be a fantastic show. And I want to do a quick little shout out to our buddy Crap Gamer at Crap Gamer Reviews. Guys, do send him a tweet. Say, get well. He's a little under the weather, but he will be ready, willing, and able for the M&C show coming up this Sunday morning. That being said, let's get to our panel, and let's get to our amazing guests that we have tonight. I'll start with the one and only Xbot448. Xbot, how the hell are you doing tonight?
Battletoads! That's right.
That
Forte thought it was going to stop, but it will never stop as long as I keep playing Battletoads. What is going on, everybody? What is up, chat? Happy Tony Hawk Pro Skater Day to everybody. I guess I'm just going to dark slide right into Crossfire tonight, man.
Yeah, my calendar had that one missing, but nonetheless, I'm penciling it in now. I appreciate that, Xbox. That's why you're here, buddy. You're here to inform the public, and I appreciate that. Another man that's here to inform the public, he does his work not for his family. He does it for you, folks. He's on a ton of podcasts, but this was the one where he breaks the news. Gaming Forte, buddy, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. Just got through slinging 2K and all this VC that these people out here buying. Let's shout out to how 2K has finessed everybody that plays 2K to go out and fight against each other by seeing who can outspin the next person. That is literally what's going on today. So shout out to you, 2K. You found out to be even better at it than you are with selling shark cards for Grand Theft Auto.
Wow, very true. Wow, that's very, very true, Forte. I appreciate you being here. Another buddy of mine, a Basement Radio Arcade podcast. Brap is also slightly under the weather, but this is just how much he couldn't get away. Brap, welcome back to the show, buddy. How are you tonight?
Yes, I'm a little bit under the weather, hence the deeper voice that I have tonight. Maybe I sound like a game show host. I don't know.
Yo, chicks are screaming right now at their computer screens. Just by you saying those couple words, man.
I thought you were trying to mimic Thor, like they were.
That's how I always.
Are you trying to change your voice?
Are you mocking me? Okay, no, this is great. I love it. I love it. I love it. Brap, it's fantastic. It's great to have you here tonight, buddy.
Yep.
Awesome, buddy. And then I've got our special guest, guys. Gave a little sneak peek just as we were starting the show. But let me reintroduce Dreamcast Guy. Dreamcast Guy, it is an absolute honor, just as always, to have you back on the show, buddy. In all honesty, how are you tonight? And I can't wait to get into our topics.
Super good, man. It has been a busy week. Lots of Avengers, lots of Tony Hawk, and now we have a lot to get to.
Yes, we do, buddy. And I'm actually going to come to you first on our first subject. So get ready, buddy. I'm going to put you under the hot lamp. And then I've got our special guest here, Jeff Grubb. Jeff, whenever you're on this show, you're immediately going to be followed by a report on 60 Minutes. That's just the way it is. It goes from Crossfire right to Walter Cronkite. Jeff Grubb, it's great to have you back on the show, buddy. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. I'm exclusively going to talk about my bathroom issues, so that's what they have to write about, all right?
That's great. Keep them circling, buddy. I love it, Jeff. Jeff, outstanding to have you here tonight. Guys, let's get into our first subject. And like I said, as I promised, I'm going to go ahead and kind of pick on Dreamcast Guy here because now, Dreamcast Guy, I am not only a huge fan of your channel, but I love the reviews you do because, listen, it's not about just when you put the big number up on the board. It's legitimately the passion that you get into when you speak of these games that you play because you really tell how you feel. And, you know, to be honest with you, you don't care what the public thinks. So here's my point. I actually was looking forward to Marvel's Avengers. Was I looking forward to it like The Last of Us 2? No. I mean, but I thought it would be a great game to kind of carry us on and get us into next generation. Plus, we get the free upgrades. There's a couple of perks there. And I'm a Destiny fan, right? Not diehard Destiny, but I'm a Destiny fan. So long story longer, I did check out your review. You are brutally honest review. You've been a little bit tougher on Marvel's Avengers than I have been. I kind of wanted to get, at least let you have your turn at the mic. What is it that you thought were some of the good, some of the bad, and some of the, I would never recommend this to a friend?
I think my main problem, so just right up front, I have a little over 20 hours in the game now. I spent about 9.5 hours in the single player, and I've put, roughly 11 hours into the multiplayer. My issue with the game is that it feels incredibly unfinished when it comes to the multiplayer, when it comes to the leveling, and when it comes to the gearing. I actually think that the story, the universe building, the cutscenes, the acting, a lot of the animations are incredibly top-notch. Like watching Thor slam his hammer down on a 20-foot robot, it looks like you are inside of a Marvel movie practically. It's so good. It falls apart when it comes to going into these pathetically simple skill trees and like, all right, I can make an alternate mode to, Iron Man's laser fists. That's cool. And then going into there and it's like, oh, here's your legendary item that you played 20 hours to get. And your legendary item has a 0.5% chance to increase your damage by 10%. Like there's no excitement,
Yeah.
The reason we love Destiny, like I haven't played Destiny in a while, but the reason so many people put hundreds of hours into that game is because it feels good to get a better gun. It feels like you have earned it. Whereas in there, nothing feels rewarding.
DC, if I may, real quick, I want to give. First of all, I do agree. As much as I'm enjoying the game, I do agree with what DC just said. But I will say this much: can I put everybody just quickly into a time machine? Can we go back to 2014? Right now, Destiny gets all the merits, right? Everything's great. Everything's great, right? Everything's fantastic now. The gun plays good. The story's right. Everything feels right. Cross-save is enabled. Everything's perfect in the land of Bungie. Okay. But if we go back to 2014, a lot of the things, DC, that you're saying, maybe not to a T, were being said about Destiny. And, now I will give you this much. Crystal Dynamics has had the template that Destiny's provided, Bungie's provided. So you almost say, well, geez, Mooch, the cheat sheet's out. They could have just followed that and moved along. We wouldn't have these issues. So that I agree with you if you want to go down that route. But, if this is truly going to be when it's Destiny, we don't know what the new DLC is going to be about. We don't know who these new characters are. This is a beloved group of people in the Avengers, right? We love these superheroes. We love the familiar areas. We love the foes. We love everything about this. If they tweak but everything you said about the leveling up is 100% accurate. But the thing about it is that's a numerical tweak here and there that they can do overnight if they really wanted to, right? I'm not saying they would. But the game itself and the other things with the simple bugs, I mean, everybody's got bugs, especially in something that massive of a game. I think that this may be a Destiny for people that actually care about Marvel Comics. I mean, am I wrong to think that this may have legs?
I think it might just because of the franchise behind it. But to me, this doesn't feel like Destiny when it comes to potential. It feels like No Man's Sky. I was a very famous No Man's Sky hater. Wow. But over the years, because they managed to reinvent the core gameplay loop, they made No Man's Sky a great game. I honestly think that if this is going to last, if it's going to get longevity, it needs to reinvent the gameplay loop. At this point, it's not about the spreadsheet not being fun enough. It's that the spreadsheet sucks.
Okay.
If I could chime in real quick, I didn't play the game. I played the demo. And in terms of the gameplay loop, the mechanics and stuff like that, the demo, if it's any kind of if it's any representation of how the game plays, and of course you only get limited characters, all that good stuff, but there were points in time where the gameplay mechanics were really clunky and stuff. So it felt way too heavy for me personally, and I feel
I want to say
that
it's way smoother than that. I do want to actually just give it credit. It does feel twice as smooth. It is still a little clunky, but it is smoother than that a little bit. This is creamy peanut butter, not quite chunky peanut butter anymore.
In terms of having legs, I think any game that's supported over time is going to get some type of community. All right.
Wait, real quick. Let me jump in there.
Go ahead, Jeff.
No. So you Mooch was talking about time traveling, going back to 2014. Let's go back to 2019. There's a little game called Anthem. That came out. And I want to say that this game does not seem like Anthem. This game seems like it's in a much better position than Anthem was.
Yeah,
there are people.
Hear me out on this. Hear me out. And I think some of the things are, of course, the Avengers, and you see the A with the arrow through it, and the casual demographic out there, when they see Avengers, they think of the movie as well. Now, I know a lot of more hardcore gamers have gotten over what the character models look like, but I feel like there's just too much kind of going against this game.
But I grew up reading Wolverine comics, okay? And when Hugh Jackman took over and wasn't in a yellow leotard, I didn't mind. You know what I mean? I think that it's okay that these are not the actual MCU faces, which, by the way, I do think they'll capitalize and finally bring that package to the game itself and make some money out of it.
A lot of I think and probably and stuff like that, but until that time comes, I got to talk about what's on the table now.
I understand that, and that's what I'm saying. I don't necessarily have a problem with the direction Crystal Dynamics went.
That's awesome for you, but I want to see across the board out there, the different types of gamers and how they feel about that, because Hulk looked okay. Don't get it twisted. I mean, a big green muscular guy.
Well, yeah,
but there was a lot to be said about the other player models. I thought Black Widow actually looked good. The other ones, though, man, it really does feel like they're stunt doubles.
I'll tell you this much. I mean, Iron Man's pretty much mainly in a suit anyways for the most part. And then you've got Thor, which Thor, I think, grows on you. I can understand. I think Captain, possibly without his helmet on, is the one that throws most people off. But I want to give the mic back to Grub. Jeff, you kind of made a point here a second ago, and you were saying about the people. And, I mean, you do have your ear to the ground. Let's be honest. You're in the business. The review's sitting at 72 on a meta. Again, I would normally think that's a thumbs down. But when you're talking about a massive game like this, with room to grow, I don't think that's necessarily a bad starting point.
No, I think it's a great starting point. I mean it. I think Anthem would have died to have this starting point. It would have been a completely different story. This game's going to be just fine. Though there are people who are disappointed. There are people who think that 72 score is exactly right. They're going to play it. They're going to put it down and move on. And that happens with these games sometimes. But if you go out there and listen, if you listen to a lot of different podcasts this week, listen to the reaction, there are a lot of people who are very enthusiastic about this game. A lot of people who are going to keep showing up for months and months and potentially years, depending on the support. And that's kind of all a game like this can ask for at launch. That there is.
That's right.
I know that there's always going to be a sort of. It feels bad to get a game and be like, oh, I can tell that there's more to come, and I'm not getting everything right away. I did pay all my money up front. I'm not getting all of it right now, and that stinks. I'm not trying to dismiss that or say that's okay, but it's the reality of the way games are made now, and to have if you are at all into this game right now, I think it's only going to get better. I think this is a good platform to start with, and that's exciting. I think it's a good thing for this game. I think it's a good thing for its fans and anyone who's sort of into Marvel. They're like, anytime you ask, oh, is there a game about this stuff when you get done seeing a movie? I guarantee every time a movie comes out from the MCU, there's going to be content related to it in this game that they're going to capitalize.
That'll definitely be
great point.
And it's just gonna keep growing. I guarantee, I don't guarantee, but I have a very strong feeling that 2022 is going to be a much better and more profitable year for this game than 2020. It's just gonna keep growing.
Yeah, that's my take on it. Is in Forte, I'll go ahead and give you the microphone next, because I got to be honest with you, you're the resident Destiny fan here, my friend, and you've earned that title.
Oh, it's not Destiny.
Well, he loves Destiny, but I mean, the thing about it is this. I mean,
I don't know about 1,769 hours in Destiny 1 and 1,740 hours in 2.
Listen, I love to compete in life, but I'm not going to compete with you on that. I'm not.
No, I'm talking to Xbot on that.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm saying Avengers is not Destiny.
You definitely ain't that, but we can get into it. But go ahead. What were you saying? Go ahead.
Well, let me do the super chats, and I'm going to get to your question real quick. Shout out, Doggy Dog 420 says the super chat's working. Happy Labor Day weekend, Doggy Dog. Thank you so much. Panthorium. He says hit the likes. Much love to Mooch and guests. Thank you. And then Slow-Mo backslaps in here. Slow-Mo's got a comment just before Forte does. He says, Jeff, have you heard anything else about the Mass Effect trilogy remaster, and any chance the first Mass Effect can have the controls improved? So I haven't heard anything new since the last show that I talked about it on, where I said that the plan was an announce in October, release in October, and now there's a potential for delay. All that is still exactly true. It hasn't been officially delayed yet. It's just on the table. I'm hesitant about diving too much more into that because it's just at this point I kind of want EA to just handle it on its own without me having to break the story repeatedly. As for them improving the controls, it's a chance. When it comes down to how these remakes and remasters are actually going to play out, just with the Mario stuff, it's hard to tell, it's hard to know, and I don't know for sure. I would hope so, and I think there's a chance, but I'm not going to promise you anything. No, that's fair enough, and I think that I definitely think it is en route, Jeff. Like you're saying, I just don't know when. I know that Slow-Mo's a massive fan of the Mass Effect trilogy. Forte, I did want to go to you real quick here because there's way too much of a correlation going on right now in the media and all reviews on the internet between Marvel's Avengers and Destiny. Of course, there's definitely a difference between the two, but have you tried Marvel's Avengers yet, Forte? Will you try Marvel's Avengers? And what are the similarities and probably some of the differences that stand out?
So, yeah, I played it a long time ago. I played at a couple of events a year ago. I actually played it. So, to me, I think the game has improved a lot. Like, back then, I think the game didn't have enough weight. So, knowing that after playing it now, I haven't played the release version yet because I just got it today. But playing in the beta a long time ago, I really, really enjoyed the game a lot. But the biggest thing for me is, do I really want to, dive deep into another game like this when I have this behemoth that I play almost every day? And I think that's kind of the situation that a lot of these games and services find themselves in. Once you have one alpha that kind of sucks up most of the player base, where do people siphon off to go do other things? Like they tried that with Division, people got tired of it, they just didn't like the direction that the game was going in, and they just jump back to another game like Destiny, or they'll go back and try to play Anthem, or they find out that's not good enough, then they go somewhere else, and then it's like this ever circling school of thought.
Second place.
Yeah, everybody just feels like they're trying to be the next. They're trying to be Destiny, but can't none of them be that. So this game, I think, has a chance. And the reason I think it has a chance, I don't think it has a chance of being what Destiny is, because I think until they get an identity, because the identity around melee combat is what this game really is. And that's what's going to that's going to be the thing that separates it from Destiny, where Destiny's pure combat when it comes to gun-on-gun gameplay. Nobody does it better than Bungie, in my opinion, when it comes to that 30 seconds of fun and feeling like you're really engaging with the enemies in that first-person perspective. With Avengers, I think for the people that don't like first-person shooters are into first-person shooters, and they want to get into something that is more open world, grindy based stuff like that, I think this is where it's going to find its lane at. The only problem is how many people are going to stick around to see that all the way through. The one thing that Destiny has at its in its favor is the fact that as many people as much as we complain about this game, and me being a person with over 30-something thousand, we still play every day. We still log in all the time. Whenever a new DLC comes out, we're super hyped. We're bumping. We're throwing it up on Twitter, talking about, I can't believe what I just saw. I always call it the Bungie effect. I said they know how to craft a masterful trailer that's going to get the player base to completely forget about all the BS they put them through for the last season. And that's pretty much what happens with Destiny. What happens with Destiny consistently. So what's going to happen with Avengers when they have a downside, when they have a low in content, when people say, oh, I got everything I want to get, let me go move on to another game? Are they going to bring something else out that's going to attract the people to want to come back? Because guess what? Bungie literally just delayed their DLC by 3 months. We in the middle of the worst season I've ever played in my life. I literally took a break from Destiny for like the last month, barely play it. But guess what? They just started throwing out little bones and stuff. Like, here's the new subclasses. These are the new things you're going to get in the game. Here's the new element that we're giving you, a dark element class that you've never seen in the game before. And I'm like, I'm 100%. I'm in.
Can't wait.
Can't wait to get in. So what is that going to look like for Avengers in the next 3 months? What about a year from now? I mean, that's the thing that you got to kind of project out with this game. I do think Jeff is correct. When you get Marvel movies, people that enjoy this game are going to be like, dude, I got to jump back in and I got to play the game, because they're just super hyped on Marvel superheroes in general. Yeah. And that's who this game is really going to hit home with the most. But let's be for real. Destiny is kind of a thing of its own. And I know you keep saying, let's go back to 2014 and see what Bungie did then. And they had the same pitfalls. The only difference is, though, people were upset at Bungie because they didn't give them the game experience that they felt like they should have got in the game that they've been giving us over the course of the first 10 years when it was the Halo. People were upset about that. It wasn't the fact that the game was lackluster and all this other stuff, because the game was actually pretty cool. But you just didn't get the experience that you thought you were going to get from a Bungie game at that point. Now, Bungie has completely changed their philosophy on how they play the game. They still have the gameplay, but they changed the narrative of how they actually create their games going forward. And that's what we got to see Crystal Dynamics do over the course of however long this game goes for.
Go ahead, DC.
I was going to say, just exactly right in that the biggest thing that killed Anthem is not the bad review scores, it's that nobody bought it. Like, the upfront integration was so bad, nobody picked it up. Whereas the superpower, excuse the bad pun, of Avengers right now is the fact that millions of people are currently in store lines. Like right now, GameStops across the world, they're packed full of coveted customers picking up this game, and they're going to go home and play it for the weekend, and maybe they get bored and put it down. But they've already said every DLC character in the game is going to be free. Everybody is free. There's going to be battle passes, but every hero is going to have their own story, and whenever they exist and are finished, they'll be dropped in. So I think that the power of Avengers now is that they can just fix this at their own rate. They don't have to worry about, there's no rush, because whenever they drop something new, people will come back. It's not like Destiny where they have to carry it on a stick progression and plot lines.
Here's my question for Jeff.
Well, Mooch, just real quick, I really, when it comes to what Jeff said about like the whole Marvel movies and stuff, I think that might be the most important thing. Like when a new MCU movie comes out, if they, add a story, or, Doctor Strange, and they add that character, they add a part that's like in the movie. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that.
Well, I'm obsessed. In there. Dude, I'm obsessed with Spider-Man, like completely obsessed with Spider-Man. Yeah. So obviously we know Spider-Man's coming, and I'm excited about that. But I'll be dead honest, when the next animated Spider-Man movie comes out in 2022, the Into the Spider-Verse 2, if they release even like $20 of microtransaction costumes to that movie, I'm going to buy every single one. And I say no shame. Yeah, every freaking one of them.
So one of my big concerns moving forward here, and this is something that I don't know, and Jeff, I'm going to go ahead and put you on the hot seat here. I'm not sure if you have the answer for this either. But as we make the correlation between Bungie, Crystal Dynamics, and BioWare, okay, when we're talking about Anthem as well. BioWare is it's a decent-sized studio. Bungie is a very large studio at this point. Jeff, to your recollection or your knowledge, does Crystal Dynamics have the support staff to keep something like this that's just ever growing and nonstop? You can already see the community is already on fire, which is a good thing. They're asking for more. Like, if they didn't like it, like you said, they just wouldn't play it. They're asking for more. They're asking for certain requests. Does Crystal Dynamics have that kind of staff?
I think that they should match Bungie in terms of size, and they also have support studios just like BioWare did in terms of Eidos Montreal. Okay. I think it's one of the Eidos teams. So they're going to have, especially if the game sells well out of the gate. And I think there's not like a lot of other games competing in this exact space this holiday, so I think this game's going to sell really well, like DC was talking about. So I think. When people see that money rolling in, and they're like, okay, do we keep these teams on this game, or do we start moving them onto something else? They're like, oh no, this game's selling, and everyone that's playing is asking for more, and they're willing to pay for some of it, if not most of it. Let's get in on that action. I think it'll really be like indicative if like those character specific progression things that they were talking about. If those things come out and they like sell pretty well, they'll be like, okay, we're gonna make so much money from this game. We have to like just put everyone on board, and that's gonna be a good thing for this game for the first year. And then as it tails off over time, they'll get better at making content. They'll know what they need. It probably won't get a bunch of like major updates, but it'll continue to get stuff that does like line up with the movies. And yeah, I mean, this is why people make games like this now. This is why you don't get a Last of Us style Marvel game. You get this because this game has the potential to make so much more money, even though it comes out with a 72 Metacritic. It's probably going to make as much money as some of those like single player games do, and then if not more.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Go ahead.
Yeah,
and I want to get Brap in here too.
Yeah, I agree with him 100% on that. I think Crystal Dynamic definitely does have a lot of studios that are backing them when it comes to the content that they can put into this game. Because as much as Bungie is a bigger studio, they cannot function. They can't make Destiny run the way they need to without the help of another partner. That's why I felt like Destiny was at its best when they had Activision behind them, helping them with it, because we were getting more content. I mean, we were getting bigger content, but now we switched over to seasons. That's why I kind of think this whole thing with Microsoft is some stuff going on that people probably ain't really noticed yet. But sooner or later, we're probably going to start seeing some stuff between Microsoft and Bungie starting to happen with the way that this content is going to start flowing out for the game. But I do think the more people support the microtransactions and buying into the battle pass, and they start seeing a lot of return on that, that's when you're going to see this game really take off. Because if they see the monetary gain behind that, then they're going to want to feed into it, because we didn't see that really truly into Bungie until they started seeing, like, what was the thing they said, Xbox? They said that the Whisper mission, all the cosmetics that people bought for that weapon literally funded DLCs in the future that came out for the game. And we're talking about full-blown expansions that came out for the game because of one weapon that they sold.
I bought a skin for my Whisper, brother. You know this.
I bought both of them, $10 each. So, it was a lot of people that did that. So that's how this game gets better over time, as long as people support it. Because the one thing for me, it's going to be hard to get. I mean, it should be easy to get people into a game where everything's free. Like, they're not charging you for any of the characters. But there's something to be said about the carrot on the stick. As long as the game is good enough.
Yes.
People want to come back and play because they know they only have a limited time to get to certain things. That's why I think a lot of people know like Destiny as much as they do. But
here's the thing, Forte,
things are going to disappear.
You're speaking some quality facts, but I think I got to give credit to Slow-Mo, your counterpart on your podcast. He says, in all honesty, he's like, people that are playing this game, the majority of them they never even heard of Metacritic. They just want to play as Iron Man. And I mean, there's something to that.
And that's the crowd this game is going to hit to the most. Like us thinking that people that play games like Anthem, or not Anthem, well, I'll say Anthem is complete because everybody wanted to be Iron Man in that game. But games like Diablo, people that play games like Destiny or Division, those type of people, they like that type of game when it comes to that first person or third person shooter. They like those type of games, where this game kind of sits along that melee type game, and they feel like it is more. I mean, it's more accessible because you could just run up to people and just beat them up in the game. There's really no PvP element. There is no PvP element in this game. So everything can be scaled to just the environment versus how all these other games are. So it's a little bit easy of a barrier entry for people to get into.
Go ahead,
so I think it's going to do really well with people that don't too much care about the whole person versus person combat like the other games do.
Yeah, are you mocking me? In my throat voice. No, you know what? I want to say something. Kind of what everyone's kind of reiterating here is, I think that Crystal Dynamics is sitting on a gold mine here potentially.
Absolutely.
I think what Jeff mentioned, these movies come out. I mean, they could tie in marketing. You're sitting down in the movie theater, you're eating your popcorn. Before the previews come on, there's commercials. They could throw a bunch of Avengers video game commercials on before the Marvel movie starts, and get that game in the minds of people that are watching the movie. And what Forte said, that this game is accessible. It's not like this heavy grinding PvP type Destiny game. I think this thing could be massively big for Crystal Dynamics. And look, everyone knocks, Sony for the whole Spider-Man thing, but that was a big move by Sony.
It's a
to
huge
lock down
move.
Spider-Man. That's huge. Yeah. So
Sony,
I see
finally
this thing.
realized what they had with Spider-Man and said, you know what, we're gonna flex it now.
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man is synonymous now with PlayStation, and Spider-Man is probably the biggest of the Marvel characters. But there's a lot they can do with this game, and I'm super excited. I haven't played it yet. I'm gonna pick it up this weekend, try it out. But I definitely think this thing could be a gold mine.
Well, I hate using the word casual because I think it offends people. I don't think it is that way. But Destiny is a very hardcore game. It's a grinding game. It can be very tedious for some, and you really have to basically almost no life it in certain categories to stay up with the community. And that's not a negative thing I'm saying, really, because if it is something you truly love, then it's something you truly love. But this is a game that doesn't feel like that. This isn't a game that I feel like I have to know life or not play anything else when a DLC launches. It seems like something that I can just pick up the controller, play with friends, have a lot of fun, laugh about it, and like Jeff was saying, I'll even use the reverse. I mean, in this case, it doesn't really hold an argument monetarily, but the minute I've been playing it every single night since September 1st, I had the deluxe edition, and I gotta be honest with you, after I get done playing it, what do? I kick on Disney Plus and I watch another MCU movie. Like, I just can't get enough of it. It kind of hits that fancy for you, but I do want to go back to DC real quick. Dreamcast guy, here's something that I don't remember. I don't know if you put this into your review or not. I mentioned it in mine. I don't know if is that a shameless plug if you're plugging your own video on your own channel? I mean, I'm not sure. Right, DC? Oh, Steve, DC says we'll allow it. I appreciate that, DC. Thank you. But I mean, in all honesty, I want to ask you this. Folks that are in the Destiny community think this was a major mistake by Crystal Dynamics, that they didn't allow the gear that you acquire or pick up to be able to be visibly shown on your character. I'm just going to quickly put my 2 sentences out there, and I'm dying to hear your take on it. My thing is this. We've all read comics. We've seen the movies over the years. We even see the MCU. And very rarely do they wear an outfit that's outside of the comic. I was saying this just the other day. If for some reason they changed their minds and they were able to wear the loot that was acquired and it would change the appearance, would we really want Captain America to have a gold shield, a spiked vest, and a Knights of the Round Table helmet? I mean, you would. I mean, because that's not. Well, that's not Captain America. You know what I mean?
Here's why, though. Well, first off, if you think about it, these superheroes, they started in comic books, very visual. You look at the movies that came out, and when another Iron Man movie came out, they're like, oh, what suit of armor is he using and all that good stuff. And then you look at also the Spider-Man game and, the different costumes and stuff that you can have Peter Parker wearing at those points in time as well. It got people excited. It's a very visual thing. And as long as either the segments kind of go back to a certain point in history with the characters, like the pieces do, if that's the case, then that's a really good thing. But as long as they are cool looking, and I know this from being a comic book guy ever since I was like 4 years old. I grew up around comic books. My dad was a comic book collector and all that good stuff. As long as it looks cool and it stays within the atmosphere of the character, definitely show them off. Definitely have it to where you can show off your Incredible Hulk as opposed to your best friend's Incredible Hulk, and have this one look that much different and be like, I did a grind.
See, I don't agree.
Well, hold on a second.
I don't agree with that.
Let me. Well, I wanted to get DC's take on it because he did have a huge review on this.
Okay, so here's my thing is that I didn't mention it in my review because I just didn't know if that was something that was going to be changed later, but it does seem like a drawback to me. It seems like something that should have been in there. So my roommate is the famous comic book YouTuber Comic Drake. So literally he has his office next to mine, and in this house there's like literally thousands and thousands and thousands of comics in here.
Nice.
And something I've learned by living with such a comic book historian is that these characters have thousands of different variations on their costumes. Captain America has died. He's gone to the future. He's gotten super AIDS in his butt. One time he got shot by a bullet that actually froze him, and a clone secretly took his place because he was going to testify against the super president. I mean, it's ridiculous. So with all this material, I feel like they could have actually made it so your loot showed up. Like already in the game, looking at the battle pass, looking at the costumes that are just unlocked through progression in the story, many of these characters already have 50 different outfits. You know, it makes me think that they could have made stuff switch out. Or even if it did deviate, like obviously I'm a big Spider-Man fan. Spider-Man already has 80 different canon costumes, including when he became Ghost Rider, when he went to the future and became Spider-Man 2077, all like Miles Morales costume, the different animated versions. I think people would have been excited if you actually had a legendary item that was called the Alterverse, and when you put it on, all of a sudden it made like Iron Man look like he was an anime or something. It would be highly sought after, even if it had worse stats. And like we keep saying, carrot on a stick fucking matters in these games.
Yeah, no, you're right. Forte, where were you? Or Brap, go ahead.
No, I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh, I apologize. Forte, you did have a comment.
That was me coughing.
That was your coughing.
You're excused, sir.
So, and I get that, but the thing is, when they promoted this game, they didn't promote it in that way. Like you were going to be that you were going to be able to change your outfits and stuff, or the gear was going to show on your characters. And I get why people want that to be a thing, because when you're playing games like this, you kind of just want to differentiate yourself from other people in the world, and that's definitely. I mean, that's what Destiny is. It's literally pick up gear, your gear changes, and you have something that doesn't look like somebody else.
Why you get all that Trials gear, bro?
That's why you go get that Trials gear. So you know people that can't get it. So I get that, but for me, it's more of, I think, like for Spider-Man, I think you will see difference for Spider-Man, because they're going to do, like, it's been publicly known over the course of the last 10 to 15 years that Spider-Man has 50,000 suits. So they're going to show you those 50,000 suits in the game in different types of skins and stuff. They're going to do that because the majority of the people that are enjoying what Marvel has been doing lately, they're going to showcase that in the game. But when you go so far back in comic book history, because like you guys said, these characters have had multiple different ways that they look, they were portrayed, just different ways of going about showcasing the characters as an appearance. But most of the people that watch and play these games now don't never see any of that. Yeah. So it will look weird and out of place to those people.
That's what I was trying. Unfortunately, that's kind of
weird and out of place to those people, and that's why I think they don't do that. Now, that doesn't say at a later date, probably in the second iteration of whatever they do with this game, that they can introduce stuff like that.
Right.
But as of right now, when they're trying to build a base from the beginning, they want to get people in on just what the game is. And that's what I think is going on. But I don't, like I said, I agree with what everybody's saying. I just think for the inaugural run of this game, they want to get people adjusted to just the characters they have, and then this gives them a chance to make the game better later on by saying, look, remember when you guys were complaining about the gear not showing up on our characters? Well, now that we got this loyal fan base of people, and we know that we can craft
now that we have these people that put up with that,
right? Exactly. Now that, because this is basically the Destiny formula. Don't think that this could not have been done now, because this could have been done now.
I think it's a little bit different. I think that they don't want to do it because they want to sell costumes later, right? That's what it is.
Pretty much
Like it's that simple. Like, I mean, it's not going to be they're not going to start letting you put the gear on, because it's always going to be about, here's a costume pack, because that seems like the way that they're going to monetize this. All the characters are free.
Yes.
Well, then what's not free?
What's not free?
The costumes to get this guy to look exactly like he does in my favorite comic. And I'm a huge comics fan, so I have to buy that. I mean, those are the people they're going to monetize the hell out of. So that, to me, that seems like the most logical thing. And I think you can. I haven't played the game. You can change the outfits, right? Like
yes, you can.
Yeah.
And
you know,
okay.
So that's how they're going to do it.
It's full skins though. Like you choose an option and it completely changes everything. Yeah, but not
and that's what they're going to sell. Yes, they're going to sell skins for these characters 100%.
But this isn't, like I said. But this isn't. And like I said, agree with you guys. But the biggest difference is there has been so many games over the course of this generation, even in the last year. Think about Final Fantasy, where you put on a trinket that gives you plus stats to something, and it doesn't show up on your character. It's just a thing that you have, an ability you have that's equipped that passively helps you. but it doesn't show up on your character. So it just feels weird because you're playing a game as a service, and all games of a service up to this point showcase the stuff that you have on your character, and this game doesn't.
The other half of this, and it's something that me and Jeff Grubb kind of hear about behind the scenes occasionally, which is there are so many weird, messy copyright laws that these people have to deal with. Like, I have gotten to talk a little bit to people that work on the, DC Universe Online or whatever, the big DC game.
Yep.
And they don't own any of the Batman costumes that are in the movies. So they legally cannot make the Batman armor. They legally cannot put the Rumbler from The Dark Knight Rises. It is illegal to code that into the game. So even though that's the most requested costume, they can't do it. And so there may be something like that of like certain costumes they're not allowed to do.
So even when they can use it though, even when they do own that stuff, there are so many layers of approval and so many stakeholders at the company. Like, WB owns that whole chain with DC Universe Online, but they still have to like go talk to the people who are like in charge of editorial and say, hey, can we put this stuff in there? That's a mess. That stuff is so difficult.
Yeah, it really is.
It causes gray hairs for developers. I know some people that worked on the other Marvel live action or the action RPG that wasn't the one that just came out on Switch, the one that was on PC, like the Marvel 2018 or whatever, and they had a lot of issues with that. So Jeff, it's going to be a problem here too.
But Jeff, did you just solve actually the issue at hand? I believe. Let's stop and think about that again. If Iron Man was going to have this, chest armor that was basically, when you're early on in a game, it's just basically like a rubber mat with nails through it. That's not going to sit very well with the artists and the ownership at Marvel, right? I mean, that's just not going to sit well. That's not how their character looks.
That would be such a mess. They would never do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There's so many costumes and stuff like that.
Yeah, but Xbot, hear me out. Jeff already answered that other side of the coin too. They're gonna give you those costumes you want, and they're gonna be 99 cents to $10 a piece.
Here's the thing, because we kept hearing Destiny and all this when it comes down to it, and I like what Bungie did with all this because when you have your character, you can get ornaments for your character. Yeah. Now the armor pieces and stuff, they all have their significant look, but if you want to unify that, like you would get ornaments, and the ornaments you would put them together to make one unified kind of like armor piece. I think they could do something like that.
It's easy to do that when you own everything that you put into the game and you ain't got to go
dealing directly with Marvel on this. So
I know, but that's the problem though. Marvel is very overbearing. This is the problem that Star Wars and EA always has. They have to go get approval from 20 different people from different story groups. But like, I mean, we could talk about Destiny, but the best example here is that Marvel Heroes game. Yeah, this is exactly how it worked in Marvel Heroes. In Marvel Heroes, you got stuff, you got loot. You equipped it, and it didn't change the appearance of the character. Instead, you would buy costumes, and there's reasons to do that. I mean, there's selling people the costumes is probably a pretty good business model for these type of characters, but also it avoids the problem where you have to get approval for instead of getting approval for like a new wrist guard or whatever, you get approval for a whole costume, and that's way easier on the artists. That's way easier on the developers. Because if someone comes back and says no a few weeks later, that's so much work down the drain. So this makes more sense.
I feel like you're taking away a perk for longevity there, because me being a gamer that does that grind in a game that we have been mentioning over and over again, grinding to get that armor piece and to get that kind of like upgrade, you want to show it off, and it kind of creates that essence to keep going as well. So now I got this, you look at it, you can see it, and now I'm going back into the game and I'm going to tear it up and I'm going to get that next piece. You know what I'm saying? So you're kind of taking away a little bit of that perk for longevity to make money on the front end, and I feel like maybe over time they can kind of, restructure this whole thing if the game does turn out to be as big as some people might think it's going to be in a couple years.
So do we think billion-dollar companies really, trust me, they know this. And this has happened in not just in video games, it's happened in all media, it's happened in movies. Think about Star Wars, why certain things in that happened. People don't know. People don't know. Yeah, the thing is, people don't know that the reason most of the original cast got killed off in these movies and they tried to move on from them is the fact that when Disney got the rights to Star Wars, they got the rights to the movies. they didn't get right to the characters when it came to anything that was before episode 7. So when it came to selling stuff at stores, when it came to like toys and merchandise, anything that took place before episode 7, Lucas still got 100% of that money for. They didn't have to share any of that because that was created beforehand.
They wanted that clean slate, baby.
They wanted that clean slate money, so that's why you see people like Han Solo die in the first episode. You see Luke Skywalker disappear in the second episode. So they wanted to start monetizing their own characters. That's why you didn't see.
How'd that turn out for them, by the way?
Huh?
I will say
that's the whole thing. Short-sighted. They thought about it short-sighted instead of long game. Like let's support all of this stuff and make more money over the course of time and build on our characters while we still do it.
Right.
But they're not thinking that way. They say we want all the money up front and this is how we're going to do it. And guess what? Marvel is thinking the same way. But the only thing, like Jeff just said, the problem is they probably gave them the okay to put a lot of these parts in the game. They just didn't give them the ability. They say, hey, you can show it in a menu. You just can't show it on the character in game. That's probably part of the discussion they had with them.
Real quick, Forte, I think that's not exactly right with Star Wars. Disney definitely owns 100% of Star Wars and Lucasfilm and all that. They own all of that, and all that money from anything from before episode 7 going forward, they get all of that money. It's just, I mean, you're not wrong about the motivations. I don't think where like they do want to start monetizing their own stuff, but that's because paying Daisy Ridley is cheaper than paying Harrison Ford.
Well, we definitely agree with that.
Right.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Let me do this real quick. We have some super chats, and I want to switch subjects here, guys, because we do have a lot to talk about tonight. And I have here, just real quick, shout out to PlayStation Inquisition. He says, live service models are Hershey. I believe that's his way of saying he doesn't care for them. Sir X-Man said...
He said that's heresy.
I apologize. I thought it was an ancient... I'm reading on a very small screen, folks. I apologize. PlayStation Inquisition...
Your phone.
He says here... He says, raise a fist for neglected Mechasalt fans on Xbox. Jeff, I see you already answered this individual. Smoking Crack and Banging Strange says, Xbox Live is free. Jeff Grubb, Bong Ripper. So there you go, Jeff.
That's right. I'm high as hell.
Hell yeah.
Right.
Jeff is out of his
I'm in
mind
Denver,
right
man.
now.
That's what we do here.
I got to move to Denver. Sir X-Man says here, screw Avengers. Tony Hawk is amazing. Facts.
Yes.
We'll get into that a little later.
Not wrong.
TrueWiddy says, I love Avengers.
I met
I
him.
can't wait for Spider-Man Hawkeye. That's coming down the pipe. Replicant says, talking about Metacritic, pardon me. I don't care and completely ignore it. I play and check out what I fancy. Enjoy Avengers so far on the PC for the frames. A lot of people would agree with you.
Meta who?
Killer Dude 35, who I got a chance to talk to, says, how long do you think Crystal Dynamics will support current gen with Avengers until they move solely on the next gen? I want DC and Jeff to kind of sit on that. I do want to answer that before we move on. Sin Vendetta, the great Sin Vendetta is in the chat. He says, got here a little late and was wondering why the conversation was so calm and civil. Wait, where's Crap Gamer? Crap's under the weather, Sin, so I'll let him know you send your love. TrueWiddy says, I hope they patch loot to have an appearance. That's what we were just discussing. And PlayStation Inquisition here, I appreciate the super chat, says, Disney needs to drop Star Wars like a hot coal. Okay, well, you know, listen, that opinion's not necessarily entirely false. What do you think about that? That's a great question by Killer Dude 35. This is going to get a free upgrade on PS5 and Xbox Series X. That's already been announced, which is a great feature that I think invokes a lot of people to buy the game now. But Jeff, I'll start with you, and then I want to hear DC. What do you guys think about that? There is going to be a cutoff here where, you know, last gen may not be supported. This thing's going to go on for years. We already said that.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue, right? This is kind of just the way games are going. It'll get an update, and then eventually they'll expect you to move on. That'll be years from now. If most people are still spending money on these old systems, they'll keep supporting it. They'll be looking at their spreadsheets, and they'll know when one line goes below another line. Well, this is when we cut off those people. And chances are, anyone who's listening is going to be one of those people who's going to move along and buy a new system in the next couple of years. So you'll be just fine.
No, I completely agree. What do you think, DC?
Exactly that. There was some leak of like a business talk from Ubisoft when the PlayStation 4 came out, and the leaked like business talk was an internal discussion of like, well, should we make like every single Assassin's Creed cross-platform and do PS3 and PS4? And the PlayStation 4 immediately started selling millions of consoles, right? So they just literally canceled any current gen plans. And I think it'll be the same thing. If they will scrap PlayStation 4 plans when PlayStation 5 starts selling. They're not going to leave money on the table. They want you to be happy for sure.
No, I completely agree with that. And I think that that's a smart move on their part as well. Guys, I want to kind of get into this, and I want to start with Jeff here. Quick question, because I watched it. I didn't have any anger issues. I was actually excited about it, right? Nintendo and their 35th anniversary of Mario Brothers and coming out with that 3D pack, which I tweeted out the minute I saw it. I said, day one buy. Listen, I'm all for not gouging, okay? I don't like that. And then sometimes I think people will just buy in for nostalgia. But Nintendo is something special, I think. And a lot of people say Nintendo gets a pass. And I do agree with that. They do get a pass. And maybe I'm one of those people that has a pass sign in my hand and lets them go. But, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and buy this. Jeff, what did you take from the announcement at the Direct yesterday? Not only from what you saw as far as the product line that they offered, but then the fan feedback.
First, I took away that I'm really glad that they finally did this. We reported on this. I think me and Tom over at Eurogamer reported on this way back in like April or something.
Yeah,
so it's like nice
ago,
to finally. Yeah, months and months ago. It's nice to finally like get it confirmed so we can move on with our lives. I guess it's Nintendo being Nintendo, and I know that is part of the giving them a pass. But you get a pass when you make games this good. It's just kind of how it works. When they put a name like Super Mario 3D All Stars out there, I did expect them to do more than they are going to do with these games. I did expect like Super Mario 64 to at least get widescreen support and at least get some upgraded character models maybe here and there. I guess I don't have the game yet. I know they're starting to hand it out to some people. And who knows? Maybe I've heard one or two things that the games, you're going to love them. When you get a chance to play them, it feels really good on the Switch. And I think once people actually own these games and have them and are playing them, most of these complaints will probably go away because these are the kinds of things that are easy to pick on right now before we have them. And if you want to use these as excuses not to buy something because $60 is a lot of money, more power to you. I do that all the time, and I agree. I just don't know if the disappointment was worth getting mad about. It is, some of the things were disappointing. There was caveats all along every announcement. Like there's a handheld, but it's just a Game & Watch thing instead of like a Game Boy, and it only has Super Mario Brothers, and there's
what's the retail on that, Jeff?
50. I think it's $50, right? That's not bad, right? But it's like still, it's like I expect. You could expect to like
it's
pay
cool
maybe
for a collector, man.
Yeah, I'm buying it because I'm
absolutely
a dumb slut. But,
same here, right? Exactly. That's the thing. Like I'm gonna buy probably everything that was announced there, and once I have them, I'll either play it a couple times and put it away and maybe regret that I spent the money, or I'll end up loving it because it's the Super Mario 3D collection, and that's going to be great. But then like Super Mario World or 3D World, not even Deluxe, just Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. It's like, man, I thought maybe they could put like the 3D Land levels in there.
Yes, exactly.
It's like there's just like one thing missing from each of these things where it's like easy to get disappointed. But again, I think that's really easy for me to notice as someone who's been anticipating these things for a really long time. And once I have them, I probably won't be thinking, I'll be thinking about 3D Land levels because I'm always thinking about 3D Land, but everything else I'll be like, okay, this is actually still great. It's still awesome to play these Mario games, and I'm totally happy.
No, I completely agree. And I think that was a good assessment. Hold on, next, let me just take care of a couple of these super chats. I apologize. Mr. Miracle, Jeff, this is out to you as well. He says, Jeff, I'm in Lakewood now. I'll DoorDash you some illegal Pete's for those munchies. 4-Star General says, great show, everyone.
Move to Colorado, man.
Right? Everyone hit that like button. And shout out to Wilmy Hood. Wilmy always asks for a shout out. There's the Wilmy Hood. Here he is. The great Wilmy Hood is in the audience. I appreciate that, Wilmy. Guys, listen, I want to hear Xbot. I took the microphone away from you. Are you thinking this is a anti-consumer thing, or I gotta be honest with you, boy, Jeff just did a better job of selling it than the Nintendo Direct did. I was already gonna buy it. Where are you on this, Xbot?
Well, first off, I watched the whole Direct, and one of the things that I got hyped up for was one of the things that most people aren't talking about or completely brushed to the side, and that was the whole Mario Kart Live thing. I think that is one of the coolest things I can
Yeah.
see like me and the kids like really going nuts in the house with those carts with the cameras and all that good stuff. I thought that was really cool. A lot of the complaints that I hear, in DMs on Twitter, all the different DMs I'm in and stuff, people are complaining that it's a limited time thing, even on the digital side. And I'm like, this is where I come from personally. They didn't have to do any of it, to be really honest with you. And this is celebrating the anniversary. So I don't technically understand why they would offer it now and to just keep selling it. I think it's up until like what, March or something
March
like that.
31st, yeah.
March
Yeah.
31st, 2021. So that's months in between.
Well, here's the thing. This is what Nintendo does. They I have bought Super Mario Brothers and a bunch of older Nintendo and Super Nintendo games repeatedly, like 5 or 6 times across different systems and different platforms.
I've heard this story.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to do that with these 3D games now. And you can't do that if, with the Switch and the Switch 2, if everyone's just buying this collection, how are you going to sell it to them again in a different form? Or how are you going to launch, like, eventually, years from now, the GameCube subscription service? How are you going to launch that if, like, you can't include, Sunshine as one of the marquee games there, or the Wii games,
right.
Galaxy or whatever?
So you're saying, like, down the road, like, say the Switch Pro or whatever they call it comes out, you're saying that they're leaving an opportunity to, put these games out there again,
in different ways, yeah.
Possibly with some of the enhancements that people are complaining they don't have right now.
That's one way.
To get people to like rebuy it again and stuff. Is that pretty much?
Yeah,
where you're going with that?
Yeah, that's listen. I don't know what else makes sense here. I'm trying to think of like,
yeah,
if you're saying it's just for the anniversary, so they're going to cut it off naturally. Like, people put out things for anniversaries and then just keep selling them forever, like all the time. I don't know why you would stop selling it unless your business model is exactly what Nintendo has done repeatedly with its old games, which is find ways to sell them to us again and again.
Well, they're creating urgency with this whole thing, like
that's part of it too, for sure. Yeah, but I still think that I guess part of the caveat here is if they follow through with this, if they really follow through with like completely cutting it off at March 31st, and if they follow through with like the limited run of physical games and don't do a bunch of runs to make sure that everyone has a chance to get a copy, if that's the case, then they're doing this because they want to sell it to us again in a few years. If they're just going to actually make sure that there's plenty of supply, and then they're just going to stop thinking about it, maybe it was just to create urgency so they could really pad their bottom line for this upcoming quarter. But I mean, I don't think they really needed to do that. So
it sounds like they actually put this direct together just to hush up the media, right, Jeff? Because I mean, the media was giving them a bit of a hard time because we said, wow, Nintendo being an absolute smash hit in sales, but then all of a sudden 2020 has been kind of dry for Nintendo. But I here's the thing, and I see a lot of people in the chat saying it, and they've been saying it to me since the direct. And Brap, I'll give you the mic after this. I mean, I've been trying my damnedest to get my kids to get into Nintendo. That's how I grew up. I know, and believe me, guys, please keep the tomatoes not thrown until I finish this comment. But everybody, right, there was the whole Nintendo, what we have right now with Xbox and PlayStation, used to be Genesis and Super Nintendo or NES, however you want to kind of look at it. And I was a Nintendo guy, and I watched these directs. And when they just have something like that $50 portable, Dreamcast guy, Jeff getting it, totally get it. I've seen what you guys have. It's amazing. Right? It's a collectible. I get it. But when I see them actually take beloved titles, like Galaxy, okay, like Mario 64, like those are games that, yes, I have my N64, but I'm not going to pull that thing out and hook it up and it looks really weird on my TV and have the adapter. Listen, I love that they're revamping this thing and bringing it up to snuff and making it so that we can play that on our Switch now to go. And that may be a way for me able to get the kids somewhat enthralled into trying some of the things I played in my youth. So, you guys can call it whatever you want. I call it nostalgia is a hell of a drug, right? So, I mean, I'm buying it day one, and maybe my reasons sound a little bit different than everybody else's. But do you guys have a hard time getting the family to kind of rehash some of the great memories you had with Nintendo, or is everybody falling in line and it's a me problem?
I think it's a you problem, Mooch. My kids, I have the NES Classic, and they do play Mario, and they definitely have gotten into it, or bought into it, if you will, and like playing the classics that I played growing up. But I do want to say something in regards to anti-consumer because I know you asked that earlier, and I saw some of the live chat saying Nintendo's the most anti-consumer company. I think anti-consumer has been the most abused word.
Fuck yes.
The last couple months, people just like you could fart in the wrong direction and they'd be like, "Oh, it's anti-consumer." Like, what are you doing? You should have farted that way downstream. It's like
it's so cheap.
Like, look, it's just like this isn't anti-consumer. It is they're in business. They're the business. They're in the business to make money, and they're capitalizing on the fact that they're coming up on a big anniversary for one of the most iconic franchises in gaming history. And look, they're giving you three of the arguably three of Oh, someone's saying my mic is low.
It's not low. It's Salt. Shout out to Saltiest Gaming. Salt, his mic's not low. He's just he's also under the weather, so he sounds.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's his voice. It's
It's my extra Barry White bass voice. Look, they're giving you and I'll try to get closer to the mic, but hopefully I'm not too close. But anyhow, no, and arguably they're giving you three of the best of Mario games. I mean, like Galaxy. Hello, that. Awesome,
right? They could have sold each of these individually, right? They could have sold each of these for like $40 a piece. Like they could have got away, maybe not Mario 64, but they could have got away with selling the other games for $40 a piece.
That's right.
So there's like it goes both ways, right? And I mean the thing about anti-consumer is like it feels like just kind of a win button that people press when they're making content. They're like, well, I know this gets viewers all mad if I just say something like this, and they'll come and watch. I just want people to explain what they mean there, and this might be a move that is by definition against consumers' interests. But like companies are not in your corner anyhow. Like I don't know why people think that in the first place. I think this goes back to Xbox's original point. They're not on your side. So yeah, we have sort of an adversarial relationship with the companies that we buy from, and Nintendo's not your friend. None of these companies are your friend. So let's examine it from just maybe a more objective point of view and say why would they might want to do this. And maybe a lot of times Nintendo doesn't make sense. They do things that we think are dumb. Like, oh, do they hate money? I think they're going to try to sell this stuff to us again, and that's not great for me as a consumer. But I mean, I don't know. When they make games this good again, you kind of get away with some of these things.
Yeah, if people don't like the upgrades now, they can just wait for the next time that they try to dish these out again.
Exactly. Yeah, and I want to say something real quick. Like, if you don't want this game, you don't have to buy it. They're not forcing you to do it,
bro.
I've tried that.
Mario actually just DM'd me a picture of a gun 6 months ago, so I mailed him my credit card. So every game automatically gets purchased.
Wow, that was just debunked by DC. That's fantastic.
But who said it's because they make quality games they can get away with this? I heard someone say that.
Yeah, I did. I mean, they can get away with this stuff because they make games so good that people fall in love with them, and we get kind of goo goo gaga eyes whenever they do. People, I mean, we freak out over directs. Like like just me writing about like when the next direct is going to come is a huge traffic driver. People want to get excited about what are essentially commercials for products they can buy. When you're in that sort of realm all by yourself, it's like Apple's reality distortion field. They can get away with it because they are special. They pulled it off, and they've.
Jeff.
I'm not gonna say they've earned it because like but they've come close, and I would prefer that they not always do things the way that they do them.
That is true.
But I'm still showing up to play all their games. I'm not gonna miss them.
And Jeff, to your point, real quick. I'm sorry, 14. Real quick. To your point, Jeff. It's almost like Disney. Like Disney used to do
I was just
Disney
gonna say that.
Where they used to release like the Disney classics, like on
they're the
limited
two companies in the world that the reason that they continue to be so good is because people who got inspired by them as children and then have become talented creators of their own want to go work for those companies. There's two companies in the world like that, and I think it's Disney and Nintendo, and that's why they're going to be pretty well off. Even like once Miyamoto fully retires, he's in basic retirement right now, but once he fully retires and goes away, he's going to have a bunch of mini Miyamotos right below him that are like the best creatives in Japan, and they're all going to want to keep going there and keep making stuff. You're absolutely right about that.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I think Nintendo truly just likes seeing their stuff sold on the secondhand market for 3 times the price. Because let's be for real. and I had a person that came into the store. I had a person that came into the store today and just blatantly told me he came in and pre-ordered 3 copies of the game. I said, "Why you need 3 copies?" He's like, "Oh," he said, "1 for me, 1 to keep sealed, 1 to sell when they finally get rid of the game, and it's gonna sell for like 3 to 4 times the price that I actually got it for. I'm just gonna make sure
I'll get my money back."
Look, literally, look. Look, is this crazy that Nintendo does this? Yeah, but they have IP that people are willing to, do this for. Like, how many times have you actually went out and bought a copy of new Super Mario Brothers when it was, you literally just rebought it on the Switch and you just had it last generation, and then on top of that they gave you a whole bunch, like, even though you didn't pay for it, when you got a Nintendo Online, they gave you a bunch of games that you probably already bought like 5 times over, probably like 15 or 20. So let's be for real here. But no, listen, they are this. I try to look at this stuff positively. They are literally telling you what is going to be valuable in the next year. So even if you don't care about this game, you should go out and buy it because literally it's going to be worth something in about 9 months when they
could have just not told us, right? They could have just not told us that they were going to stop selling it.
Telling you what's happening. So you need to just think like a person thing, just like y'all did. Like, look, check this out. Just like y'all did when GameStop had the finesse out there, and everybody went out there and bought 3DS games and flipped them for Xbox One X's because you got this really big deal. You literally have a blueprint on knowing what's going to be valuable next generation. So if you guys are super mad about this, go out there and buy it and flip it for more money, and Nintendo and go get that sale from those other people later on. But guess what? They don't care. You know why they don't care? Because they like seeing their stuff going that high, and it makes people want to buy it again later when it finally does hit stock.
Go ahead, DC.
It's that they've already made the profit though as well. Like in your example, this is a singular customer that is now from his own pocket spent $180 because he's bought 3 copies of the $60 game.
3 copies of a game.
So even though yes, he is going to make some of that profit back on the secondhand market, the thing is that Nintendo has realized that scarcity works. It's the old analogy of you put your thumb over the hose, turn it on full blast, and it comes out 5 times harder. Everybody forgets this, but there were financial write-ups during the age of the Wii U that actually calculated that Nintendo can afford to lose like $50 million a year for the next 50 years. That's not an exaggeration. They can lose $50 million in profit and make no extra money for 50 years and be financially solvent. So then
they got a motherfucking bank account.
So it's like, you want to boycott Mario? Okay, well, see how my dick tastes next generation. Oh, okay.
Whoa!
Oh, wow!
Whoa!
DC,
Whoa.
This is
Let's
great.
be for real.
Are you mocking me? Are you mocking me?
Are you mocking me?
Hey, let's be for real.
I think he's mocking you.
He's mocking you. No, but look, they just released a Lego set that sold out everywhere, and all you see is YouTube videos all over the freaking place of people playing with Legos and Mario. So they're just like, dude, they have nothing to worry about by putting this out. All they do nothing but benefit.
Who said that about cardboard?
I
bought it.
Super Mario 35. I want that game to keep going.
Labo is horse shit, and I want to put that on the record.
It's really bad. It's really bad.
I was saying from the very beginning, I said that Labo was dumb. I had Nintendo fanboys literally tweeting me sales statistics. I had Nintendo fanboys tweeting pictures of empty Labo shelves. Like, don't you feel like a dumbass? No, it's cardboard. I don't give a shit.
No, yeah, it wasn't.
Be for real, y'all. Ring Fit is like literally the craziest thing ever, and you can't find them anywhere.
It's true. Yeah, my roommate has it, and he does it all the time. He'll just like, excuse me, I have to get into shape, and he turns on that shitty ass.
DC. Shout out to RGT85. Shaun was on a few weeks ago. Shaun did a video where he used it, and he said it literally kicked his butt. So I mean, I think it is. Maybe that's still gimmicky, but if it works, it works. I do want to say something and kind of piggyback of Jeff's initial statement here when he made an Apple reference. One of the other things, and I said this, shout out to Salty on Saltiest Gaming Podcast last night. I made this reference last night. I'll say it again tonight. I don't mind ever investing in Nintendo. I guess maybe, of course, the Labo thing is where I'm going to have to open mouth insert foot. But except for that, every time you buy a Nintendo game, I went back and traded in. I'm not even kidding with you guys. And I don't have the exact numbers because it was multiple years ago. But I went and traded in my Wii U games to go and grab some more Switch stuff because I found them around the house. I mean, I was getting $30, $35, and $38 respectively for old games as trade-in. I mean, I was walking out with brand new games, and I was paying like fractions on the dollar. I mean, my point being here is a lot of people used to always give me grief. Now things are a little bit more saturated, so it's a little different. But if you guys remember the early iPhone Samsung wars, I'm going back to probably around 2010. Okay, if you can go back that far with me. You used to buy an iPhone, and the iPhones weren't $1,200 back then. I think they were flirting with between $600-700. But then you would get like $400 or $500 back the next year, or even 2 years after. Whereas if you bought a Samsung phone back then, you basically could use it as a coaster when you were done with it. My point being is that Nintendo's got this unbelievable value that it retains in the used market. And Forte, there's nobody better than you that knows that. I mean, if I bring back any Mario game, like it's gonna get me almost half of what I paid for it.
Let me tell you, man. And I'm a perfect example. And this is something I did when the Switch came out. I bought 2 day one. I told my daughter my oldest daughter wanted one, and she was like, "Who want a Switch?" I said, well, you don't need a 3DS no more then. So you need to give me your 3DS, all your games, trading all that stuff in. I said, I'm trading my Wii U and my Wii in, all my games. I got $1,563.
Wow.
Oh, damn.
All of it. I was like, because the thing is, I don't buy trash that Nintendo puts out, like those shovelware. That stuff, I don't need that. Just give me the first party stuff that I need, and I will get that. I literally was shocked that I got $1,500 for 3 systems that were like at that point. What?
You got a lot of silver for Destiny that day.
No. I literally paid for.
You hesitated.
He did.
I actually probably did buy silver around there.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if I did when you got that much money laying around. But I literally used like $300 of that, and that went over to my Xbox One X. I just kept that on hold because that was around the time that we started hearing stuff about it. But yeah, I bought 2 Switches, all the games I wanted, cases, extra chargers. I had like 4 games on each system. Like, dude, just by getting rid of old stuff, because Nintendo literally does not lose value in their product.
Hey, wait, we actually have some breaking news here. They just announced they're doing a Shenmue anime. This news just came out 4 minutes ago. Crunchyroll.
That's the worst news I've ever heard.
You shut your warm mouth. I'm about to drop like block forever, grub.
That's going to be 3 seasons of forklift driving, and that's pretty much
it. I know, bro.
And playing that game that I forget the game that you played, that board game or whatever it was. I forget what it's called.
You're never going to see a better drawer opening scene in an anime ever.
I love how he closes his hand in that game. You'll sign something in a drawer. He closes his hands like one of those claw games. He's like maximum wide grip and slowly closes on a battery. It's like, bro, you having a stroke? Just pick up a
Wow. That game was ahead of its time.
So let me do this, guys. I'm going to switch subjects real quick because I know that this is really going to get Jeff fired up. We were talking about it before the show.
Woo!
And, listen, I'll just put the question out there. What's going on with the next generation prices and release dates? Could we be facing a delay? I highly doubt that myself personally. Jeff, do you think that maybe this is something that's going on up in Redmond and possibly at Sony Studios as well? Is that they know that the Apple, again, maybe we're paying a little. I'm an Apple fan, so paying too much homage is never enough. But the Apple methodology works where they get on stage, they present, they put the beautiful picture of the product up there. Xbox is gonna have the Xbox Series X, they're gonna have the Xbox Series S. They're gonna have 2 different prices, and they're gonna say you can pre-order starting next week, and we'll start releasing the week after. So we always know that we can always fall back on the Apple plan, right? That's been working for multiple years now. Is that what they're planning to do, Jeff? Have you heard anything? Or is this just a cat and mouse game to see who's going to go first so the other person can undercut the price by $50?
Yeah, it is absolutely a cat and mouse game. It is absolutely them. They know that they can wait because you're right, because of Apple and even Nintendo with the Switch. That was like a 50-day gap between they're announcing the price and then actually releasing the console. And they haven't quite reached that point yet. We're getting real close. We are getting down to the wire there. But yeah, this is just them coming down to we want to wait. We both want to wait. Well, if they both want to wait and they still have time, they're just going to keep waiting. So does that mean do they know when they're going to announce it? No, they don't. I mean, that's the thing. That's why I'm not hearing anything, because there's nothing to know yet, because they haven't decided. They haven't decided when they're going to announce it, so they haven't even decided the price, because they're still waiting to see if they can undercut one another. So it's just a matter of them looking around saying we can continue to wait, and maybe that changes the landscape of what these console launches actually end up looking like. Maybe it is a lot of buying through their websites, and maybe a few retail partners. I think Forte, you might have mentioned that the last time I was on, like the idea that they might just partner with one or two retailers. I still think that's very much in the cards. I think and GameStop, this is like a small report that I'm working on. It'll come out like next week. But I think they're considering like payment plans and installment plans, and they're thinking about ways of doing that so that they can make it really easy for people to come in and walk out. And that might be GameStop saying, hey, we're going to try to work with you console manufacturers to try to make it easy for people to come in and buy a console, even in this really trying times. So please still send us consoles. Yeah. Please don't cut us out. But like, so we don't know necessarily what that's going to end up looking like if they try to do an Apple model. I think the reason this is going bad for them in terms of like everyone kind of getting antsy is because with Apple, they announced the phone and the price and everything at the same time, and then you'll have to wait 10 days. Here, we've known about the Xbox Series X for like almost
since December last year.
Since December of last year.
Yeah.
We've known about the PlayStation 5 since they like announced the logo back at GDC or whatever. They've announced it before that, maybe before. Yeah, but it's like we've known about these things for a very long time now. They have trickled out this information. It is getting frustrating, I think, for a lot of people who are very much looking forward to just putting down their credit card finally and ensuring themselves that they're at least going to get one in the first couple of weeks. And so that's where this is backfiring on them. But that doesn't mean they're going to sell less. It doesn't mean it's actually going to be they're not going to feel any negative repercussion here. So it's worth it to them in the end to be able to be the company that goes last on price. I think if we're going to figure out who's going to go first, to me, it feels like Microsoft, just because of the Series S. They haven't talked about it at all. Yes. They have to talk about it eventually. I think eventually the pressure is going to be on them more than Sony. But I don't know. I guess I don't know what pressure would be on Sony. Maybe there's something I'm not thinking of. So we'll see.
I agree with you. Go ahead, Xbox or Brad, whichever one of you guys wants to flip a coin.
Jeff, real quick. I've been talking about this, and again, it's a main symptom of not having E3. And if we had E3,
I agree. That's a good point.
Xbox would have went first, and then Sony would have been reactive the way that they have been for years. And I think what it's coming down to, Sony is used to coming out, second and kind of reacting to whatever Xbox has said and trying to one them up. So in this camp, first off, I want all this information out here. I think the consumer, the gamers, we have been waiting way too damn long. I don't care about any Apple iPhone effect or anything like that. I feel like we've been waiting for this information for way too long in terms of, getting ready to, even decide if we're going to go into the next gen or not. But I will say that when it comes down to it, I actually want Xbox to go second because they have gone first for so many years in a row.
Feels like they should get their turn, right?
I want to see Sony. I want to see Sony be more proactive instead of reactive at this point in time. I think both companies really believe in the new hardware that's coming out, but I'm rooting that Sony goes first on this. And I've seen a lot of people on social media like try to point their finger at Xbox, and it's like, no, both these companies, they're in this cold war for price right now. And when you really dig into it, I want PlayStation to go first and see them be proactive for once.
Well, the problem is, and I agree with you, Xbox, but the problem is the reason a lot of people are saying that they wish Microsoft just went ahead with first because they kind of made it known that they don't care about selling the hardware.
Right.
Where Sony does care about it. So it makes sense for them to come out and say, they actually came out and said that we're not going to announce.
But you can look at it the other way around, though, Forte. The fact that they said that they don't care about it, they just announced the price. But the thing is, though, and I don't know who was chiming. Here's the thing: you don't have to be a $1 trillion company. You don't have to be a $1 billion company. You don't have to be a $1 million company. If you make a product, you want to sell it. So when
Right,
Phil,
yeah.
you know what I mean, Jeff? And I
absolutely.
don't mean to say that I don't believe Phil, but when Phil comes out and says something like, "We don't care if you buy the console," don't get me wrong, that's a lot more PR talk than it is actual.
They care about
No,
people with
it's more nuanced than that.
Right.
Yeah,
It's more
I think
nuanced.
it is.
They-
Right.
they-
It's
they
very
want-
more nuanced.
They want you to be.
Millions of gamers, man.
There's a left off part of that sentence. We don't care if you don't buy the console. If the reason you're not buying the console is you're playing our games on PC, like
Right.
that's the full sentence there. If you go and say,
Right.
why would I buy an Xbox? I already have a PC. Phil Spencer's like, okay, that's fine with me. That's great.
fine.
But if you're talking about like just announce the price of the console because you said you're not competing with PlayStation, well, maybe Microsoft and maybe Xbox thinks that like, okay, the competition is a little bit above that realm, but the Xbox Series X absolutely is competing with the PlayStation 5. Those are two competing head-to-head products.
Absolutely.
Microsoft knows that.
Yes.
They've never said it wasn't. They've never said that the console isn't competing with the other console. Just because the Game Pass is their focus, and maybe that's where they want to focus, that doesn't mean the console isn't competing with the console. So, they're absolutely. This is still a cat and mouse game. That's what
They're
this is.
competing at a certain level. I just think that Microsoft at this point does not want to go first because, listen, as much as people keep saying that 2013 that's long gone, they still remember what happened to them back then. And this is a company. This Microsoft is still they're a ruthless company. And trust me, if they wanted to stand on one thing, they want to stand on the fact that they said we got the most powerful system. And we got the best price. We got the cheapest price. Even if they do got a regular, like you said, even if the S, well, we know this S is definitely a thing. The S is definitely going to be the cheapest system. We know that. But they don't look at the S saying, we don't want just the S to be the cheapest system. We want our high-end system to be the best, the cheapest version that you can even get it to even the highest end when it comes to next gen. So I think Microsoft is really just playing this like, hey, we don't care if you buy it, like you said, we don't care where you play your games at, especially if it's on PC or Xbox. That's fine. They're also living from a strength of you don't have to upgrade because there's no games for you to buy with this system brand new.
Yeah, that's the thing, even now with the delay of Halo Infinite, which was their one and only first-party game that was going to launch with the new hardware, they definitely want to come in at a lower price point now, even with their top tier. So they are going to sit there.
Well, was Halo really the selling point? Was Halo the selling point, or was Game Pass with Halo in it the selling point?
No,
Halo was the selling point.
Just Halo.
Because Halo was, because that's what I think. I think Halo was the true selling point of this next generation for them. Other than that, you could just Game Pass is just Game Pass at this point. Microsoft has, I feel like they definitely, even if they were thinking $600, $500, or $600, now they're at a situation where we have to convince people a reason of why they need to get this system. And if we can't do it with software and just our services in general, we can do it with the price point. If we can say our cheapest of the cheapest $300,
Forte, if we were up in Redmond and you were making that speech and we're all on the same team trying to sell Xboxes, I'm with you. I'm going to stand right behind you and go, all we got left is price.
But
I don't know if Brap, DC, or Jeff or an Xbox will ride with me on this, but at the end of the day, if you're giving me a dirt cheap, powerful console, but I don't have anything new and great to play on it, it still isn't really that tempting. I don't know how else to say it that way.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Have anything first party.
Have you ever heard people say? Have you ever heard? Yeah, but listen,
this battle isn't being fought this holiday. This battle is going to be. This battle truly is going to be fought in February and March. That's where this battle will be.
Well, I don't know about that.
Listen, whatever systems they bring out this holiday are going to sell. Whoever can produce the most systems this holiday,
so but
will sell out.
Forte,
it's about what's going to happen.
Well, you know what,
DC, next year.
Listen, DC, let's play devil's advocate. I'll go ahead and agree with him for a second because I'm with DC on that. But I'm going to say this much, okay? If that's the case, you want to fast forward to February and March? Okay, let's fast forward to that's when Deathloop and that's when Ratchet and Clank are coming out. What does Xbox have then? Nothing. So it doesn't really matter.
And that's why I said that Xbox has no hope in the prayer of beating Sony when it comes to head-to-head.
Okay.
Well, that's
DC, what are you thinking?
There's no hope in that part.
I'm just saying that claiming the console war doesn't even really begin for the first 3 months. I think that people are lining up on the battlefield.
Begins as soon as the systems come out. I'm just saying, but when it comes to number wise. Like I said, when it comes to numbers, like numbers that are out there in the wild, where this system sold this and this system sold that, it's going to be a wash for the first 3 to 4 months because whatever they can produce, they're going to sell. Now, once we get out of the holiday and they don't have to worry about buying gifts for like this person or this person, and we're just going to buy what's available. Then you actually have stock in the store to actually choose and pick what you truly want. That's when you're going to see that divide really happen. And at that point, Microsoft is kind of looking like, do we have anything that we can have available for people at that point? I don't think they will. I think it's going to be the same situation no matter what.
Now, let me just say, I think that there's going to be Xbox Series X's sitting on store shelves through the Christmas season. Wow. And I will bet you, I hate Battletoads. I think the new Battletoads sucks, but I will beat the game with you co-op if it's actually like, let's watch this and then we'll do some Battletoads.
Go ahead, Brap.
I respect
Brap's drooling to get in here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know. I don't agree with DC that Series X will be sitting on store shelves during the holidays. I mean, Microsoft can kind of artificially, I guess, inflate that or make that
gathering dust. I'm calling it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm dying on this hill.
Microsoft could like ship limited amounts and actually make, they're not on the shelf.
We sent 5 to every Walmart.
Yeah, we sent 5, right? Exactly. But I will say this: I could see though, DC, I could see them collecting dust after the holidays. I could certainly see that, and I could see PS5 maybe not collecting dust or not be readily available through early next year because they do have some games coming out that could potentially entice people who didn't get the PlayStation 5 console at launch during that Q1, Q2 timeframe of 2021. But I will say this: there is one group that did release price, and I want to mention this because this is very important.
Oh Lord, here we
go. NVIDIA.
Oh wow.
Gave us the price of their new GPUs. So anyone who's considering PC gaming, look, come talk to Brap. I'll walk you through it. There's some. They are putting. I
walk through it. What are you talking about?
That new motherboard along with that GPU and get everything set for
that 3070 at $500 looks very, very tempting. I might add, but
3070.
What about that 3070?
Yeah, listen, but I'll say this: I'm starting to agree with Forte though. I'm starting to agree with Forte on one thing here. And I didn't agree with Forte when he said this.
Right,
but I'm really starting to think. Because I heard Jeff say, some retail partners may be thinking about creative ways to like get people to maybe do payment plans or some kind of creative financing type thing. I think these things are going to be $600. I think that's the delay. I mean, $500 isn't sticker shock because we've been there. $600 during a pandemic, might raise some eyebrow, and I think they're trying to figure out when's a good time to announce this. Is it a easier blow?
I can't see the PS5 being $600. The Series X. Listen, we've made a case for this. There is reason to think it because of the fact that they have 2 different SKUs, and it's very clear they have a underpowered one, a lower powered one with a cheaper price tag, seemingly fit, and then they have a monster that is really one powerful unit, and it is going to be, it could. I'm not saying it's going to be $599, but I'm saying if we're going to talk in hypotheticals, I could at least roll with you on that. I see where you're coming from.
Would anybody be shocked though if it was $600?
The PS5 is it would have to be $600 if it's going to make a profit or but the slimmest profit because it's an expensive system to make. Apparently, it's more expensive than the Xbox Series X, and that doesn't include things like packaging and shipping and logistics and all that other stuff. That's going to easily put it way over $500 in terms of break even point. But I mean, I think they're going to want to lose money if they have to. If they have to, they're going to lose money here, which is going to be it's going to sting because they haven't done that in a long time. But they will if they have to.
My whole problem with the price situation is, I know if Microsoft was willing to go $400, they would have just said $400. They would, because Sony wouldn't come to that price. Of course. They would have just said it. And Microsoft is already known. Microsoft has already been known for this entire generation to have a $500 system.
Right.
So them saying $500 would not be a shock to anybody. PlayStation, they know that Microsoft can go 5, and they know they can go 5 with them and not be at a detrimental loss. But the biggest thing is Sony is looking at it like we sold a $600 system before. How did that work?
That didn't work out very well.
But also, I still believe in my heart that people's spending habits have completely changed, and people keep forgetting this. It's true. Like what's going on now and what's going on. Like, I don't care. Right now, in the middle of a pandemic, $600 to some people now is nothing compared to what $600 was back in 2007.
We'll tell you, $600 back in 2007 is like over $700 today. It's like close to $800.
Exactly. So the fact that these people keep saying that there's no way they're going to do this. Listen, man, these companies are all about making money, and just me being in and people try to tell me like every day, like there's no way people aren't going to spend that type of money. I'm like, people walk in my store every day looking for headsets because they can't find them anywhere right now because they're sold out, because we're in the middle of a cycle refresh of all the accessories and stuff. Mm-hmm. But people come in there looking for a $50 headset, and when I say all I got is this Steel Series 9X Pro for $250, they look online, they'll call their friends, you know what, just give me that headset, I need a headset. Yep. So you telling me that you came in for a $50 headset, but now all of a sudden you walking out with a $250 because you can't find one? Look, dude, these people will spend whatever amount of money they can to get whatever they want, and that is the whole value proposition. Literally 2 years. Oh, I'm gonna let you go. Literally 2 years ago is like Brad just said about the NVIDIA card. Literally what Brad just said about these GPUs. 2 years ago, people were outraged these 2000 series graphics cards were overpriced. Yep. Guess what? Literally 3 days ago,
they're excited about it, Jeff.
Yo, these graphics cards are the same price as the ones that were 2 years ago.
They are.
But the only difference is people's perception of value is a lot different with these than it were for those.
Well said.
Well, Forte, real quick, the one thing I don't agree with you on is that if Microsoft, if they're thinking about $400, why not just put it out there?
Because they're not going to do 400 if they don't have to.
Yeah. You and your neighbor across the street are selling the same thing. You're out there, you're out on the sidewalk, you're ready to sell it. You're about to put your signs up for the price. You mean to tell me part of you is not looking over there to see what they're going to do?
That's why Microsoft isn't going to say anything. Microsoft's going to take this all the way to the 11th hour. They're going to be this going to be Apple. They're going to be like Apple out here.
I think so.
Goes 6, Xbox will go 5. If PlayStation goes 5, that's where it's going to be interesting. Will Xbox go 4?
You know, the funny thing if Sony goes 6, Microsoft will go 6.
You think so?
Yes.
I think so.
Yes, because
if one goes 6, they'll both go 6.
What were you saying, DC?
Because they can make the Series X 100 or 200 cheaper. But I was going to say, the reason I am afraid of the $600 console is that a lot of people who come by my videos will just be like Googling a review for a game. So I see a lot of casual gamer comments, and their reading on the market is so different. And something I see a lot is I see people say, PlayStation 4 keeps having sales. I have a huge backlog. I'm extremely happy. I've got games like Persona 5 I just picked up. This is a 100-hour RPG. I see a lot of people saying, if this is a penny over $500, I'm waiting till like Christmas of 2021 to pick up a PlayStation 5. And I think we're kind of needing to realize casual gamers carry the market. That's the reason that we see all these microtransactions.
Eventually.
That's the reason.
But guess what, Dreamcast? What's going to happen when Call of Duty's not available on Xbox 360, Xbox One, and PS4?
They're going
to go whatever the price has to me. If they want to play that game, they're going to go.
But I'm still saying, if your first 8 months, if your console sales are like a full notch down for that first 8 months, even if you do have good exclusives,
even if they're $600, they're not going to be a notch down, especially through the first 8 months, because we're still dealing with the pandemic. People aren't spending money on going out. They aren't spending money on movies. They aren't spending money on concerts. They have an entertainment budget. The people that would be buying a console, there's a lot of unemployed people, and people are going to be in tough shape. But the people that do have jobs still have money to spend on entertainment, and there is no entertainment to spend it on. They're going to pay $30 on Mulan, and then they're going to look around and say, well, okay, what's next? And what's next is, well, I got to pay $600 for a system. Am I really going to skip on it just because it's $100 more than I thought? It's like, well, I mean, this money's just sitting here. Otherwise, it's just going to sit here if I'm not spending it on this. So, yeah I'm absolutely going to pull that trigger.
Jeff, Jeff, what people don't realize is what you're saying, and just to put it in the context, just remember back. Remember, like, there's a really funny commercial out there, like, remember places? I think it's Miss Captain Obvious who says that. Like, remember we used to actually go to the mall? I mean, if you just took yourself and your better half, or maybe your family, you drop, Jeff, you know, this is what you're alluding to, 50, 75, 80 bucks. If you just went to the movies, right, for 4 people, a tub of popcorn, 1 thing of Twizzlers, and 2 sodas, you're over $100. Okay,
I mean, this is what we see with gaming. This whole entire year, we've seen this with gaming. Gaming is skyrocketed in terms of sales.
People are using that money elsewhere.
23 million copies sold. Like, people want to they want something. Gaming is still offering it up, and if it's $100 more, they're not. That's not going to be anything for the people that are buying consoles this holiday. It's just not a barrier.
I agree with everything. That.
I agree with everything what Jeff just said. I mean, you know, yes, we're in a pandemic. People have lost jobs. It's unfortunate. You know, but if you look at the health of the industry, you know, like I see like Matt Piscatel's eyes bulging every time there's like a new MPD report, because I mean the industry is just booming right now. Business is booming, as they say. It's just it's crazy, and it's doing this in the middle of a pandemic where, you know, people have lost jobs, they lost income, but there's a certain group out there that has that disposable income now, where maybe, like you just said, Mooch. I mean, I know that $100 movie theater trip, because I lived that with take my 2 sons. It's like $50 just for us to get tickets, and then that's not even the concession stand, right?
Yeah,
you know, so it's just like, it's like,
think about this, just the back and forth to school, the baseball practice, to this, to that, right? Just your gas alone, and if you're working from home, I mean, upwards of your commute could be $100 a week that you're not spending anymore. So I mean, there's a lot of
paying daycare right now.
That's what I'm saying. And
I'm not saying that people are going to be happy about this. No one's going to be
not at all.
It's $600.
No.
This is wonderful.
You're saying they'll just, but they'll spend it, Jeff, is what you're saying.
Yeah, everyone's going to suck it up and pay it. Absolutely. Like, yeah, people are saying in chat, it's not going to go down well. No one's saying it's going to go down well. People will pay. They are going to pay this if it's $600.
They will.
So, and both companies know that the only reason they haven't said $600 yet is because the other one thinks the other one might do $500 if they say $600.
Yep.
So that we're in this weird limbo. We'll see what happens. But they both want to do $600. They both absolutely want to do $600.
Announce it already, man.
You know, Jeff, I was just about to say what you said, that both want to do $600, and
they want to so bad.
Yeah, like no one no one here saying that this is going to like go down well with the gaming community. We're going to bitch, we're going to fuss about it, but like, if you've paid $500 already for a console, and if you really think about it, what's an extra $100?
Oh my God, I can't believe I'm hearing
2 games.
I can't.
I mean, Forte, I can't
believe I'm hearing this,
bro. Forte, you said this months ago.
I said this almost a year ago.
You just said, and I agree with you. Like, it just like, why else wouldn't you announce it? Like, I'm thinking, like, what are you? To me, it just makes sense that you're not announcing this because you know there's going to be sticker shock. You're trying to figure out. And maybe and like Jeff said, you know, you want to release this as 600, but you don't want to be the first guy to say 600 in case the other guy goes 500. Because we know how that went 7 years ago for Xbox.
Yeah, and that's the thing I would say, like, you know, and this is the thing that kind of just cements it for me more and more. I ask everybody this question. Everybody that questions me and says they can't be this much. What did I ask Jay Barry on our show on Wednesday? I asked him about. I said, you buying a PlayStation 5? I said, if it comes out at $600, you gonna buy it? He was like, without a thought, he was like, yes, day one.
Yes. Yep.
And guess what? There is millions and millions of other people out there just like you that's gonna spend $600 for a system.
Let me ask you. Go ahead, Brett.
Don't you think Jim Ryan's kind of prepping us for that? Because he even said something to the effect that, and I'm paraphrasing here. He's talking
about the value.
The value. He's talking about the value of the console. And so, if I think about that, I'm thinking like, oh, okay. Like, and Jeff, I think when we had you on Brap, I think you mentioned this too. Like some of those marketing deals that maybe Sony's being aggressive with, like that's them trying to build that value proposition by getting that content or that exclusive content to make PlayStation 5 attractive at $600.
Yeah, they're spending the money to make sure that like people feel like they can't miss out. That's why it would be worth it to them to spend that much money. And I think, I mean, Forte, I think you said this. This is a point I keep thinking about now. If it was $500, we'd probably know. I feel like we'd know. I think it was $500. We'd know. Like, it just feels like it doesn't like. Why else wouldn't they tell us? I mean, like,
unless there is an underlying thing going on with the production of these systems, which nobody believes that's the case, Why haven't they just come out as outside of these companies playing chicken with each other? And I know why Microsoft is doing it, because they just don't want to be stung like they were for the last generation on coming out second with stuff. And Sony literally came out in the release and said, we are not telling price until we're waiting for Microsoft. They literally came out and said, we're waiting for Microsoft.
Yeah.
Think about that. They literally, what company says that we're not going to release our price until another one does it?
Because they're going to undercut them or they're going to match. You know, that's the way it is.
Thing. So, and nobody wants to. How are you going to? Okay, if they're going to come out at $500, how are you going to undercut $500 on a $600?
No, I'm using yours and Jeff's reference of $600. If Microsoft seemingly now maybe they're realizing that their first plan wasn't going to work, because seemingly they thought that possibly if you go back to earlier this year, they probably said at the boardroom, we could probably release a $600 top notch, right? We have the most powerful console. We'll release a $600 and then we'll have a $300 half price, if you will, Xbox Series S, which gets you in there and playing new games almost just as well. So my point being is now all of a sudden, they, like you said, they don't want to have a reoccurrence of this generation. They know right now that everyone's looking at the Series X. Look, they can announce the Series S all they want. I'm not saying the Series S will do bad. It may do very well. But everyone's eyes are on the X and everyone's eyes are on the PS5. So right now, their $600, $300 methodology of February 2020 isn't holding up in September 2020. And that's why they're playing this cat and mouse game.
Mooch, if that Series S is $300, don't discredit that thing at all.
No.
I'm not discrediting
Xbox,
it.
No, he's right. Xbox the 3. That system is just like when you look at a heavyweight fight, you don't look at the undercard. You look at the main event. The main event is the X and the PS5. Those systems are going to set the tone for everything else. The only difference is Microsoft is trying to have another system that's available for you for the people that want to upgrade, or for the people like they're not going to probably have any other. I don't think there's going to be any S's, even though they said they're still supporting them. Those things are probably going to be the Black Friday deal. Same thing with PlayStation. PlayStation 4 said they're going to have PlayStation 4s out. I think those systems are going to be the doorbuster Black Friday deals, $150, $200 for one of those systems. And once those things are gone, what's going to be left? All you're going to have is the S and the X and a PS5. PlayStation's going to sell out of their whatever high-end system. They're sell out of their digital system. Xbox is like, we want to have, once those systems are gone, we want to have a fight at the $300 price point, and this is going to be the cheapest option you can get. So that's where that system's going to live at. And the people that don't have an Xbox, or the people that want to upgrade from like a regular S or the fat VCR that they should throw in the trash 10 years ago system, that's the one that those people are going to be upgrading from, and that's where that system's going to sit at. But ultimately, when the system release, the fight is going to be with the two high-end systems, no matter what.
Let me do this. Let me get some of the super chats here, and I do want to ask the panel a question here. Sir X-Man says, and I apologize, guys, I'm a little behind here, so I apologize that these are from past subjects. He says, Tony Hawk made me late for work. I'm never late for work. Shout out to Sir X-Man. Everyone seems to be loving that game. Sin Vendetta says, will we ever get the virtual console back in the Switch? I'm not sure. I'll ask Jeff as soon as I get done reading these other ones. Rice79 says, tinfoil hat. Microsoft doesn't care about console sales at all. They know it's going to fail. They may want to delay, but will string Sony along waiting for a price. Okay, tinfoil. At least he says tinfoil hat in the beginning of that. Rice, I understand. Rice79 comes back and says, PS5 selling 20 million first year if they can produce them. Sir X-Man's back. He says, I want to hear DC's Tony Hawk review. And Rice79 comes back and he says, Miles Morales, Ratchet & Clank, Demon Souls, Gran Turismo 7, for Horizon Forbidden West, all first year. Cap for GPUs, all you want. Next-gen AAA games, forget it, PS5 or nothing. So go ahead.
Well, I will say
before you answer that, before you go ahead.
Just real quick, I watched Dreamcast guy's review on Tony Hawk, and I have to say, I agreed with just about everything he said. It was one of the reasons why I got so excited when I went into Discord, because I knew somebody loved the game as much as I did. But go ahead.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah, so what I was going to say is, I think, I forget who said it about the 20 million systems sold. I don't think anybody will sit up here and tell you on this panel that Xbox is going to outsell PlayStation next generation, no matter what the price point is. I think if Xbox comes out at 500, PlayStation can still come out at 600 and they'll still outsell them. It's just the worldwide brand that they have. I think Microsoft once they get their services 100% and you start seeing all their games start hitting it, and if those games are warrant of people going out to buy the system or get into that ecosystem, that's when you'll see their numbers go up. But from the beginning, PlayStation is going to literally outsell them throughout all next generation. It just comes down to what Microsoft's going to do to improve on what they did this generation. And they may not sell more systems next generation. And that's the thing people got to realize. They may sell less systems next generation, but still be financially better off just because of the ecosystem they set up with their consoles.
That's possible. Let me ask you this then, guys. Tokyo Game Show that's coming up. Now, of course, they've said that Xbox has come out and said, I believe, there'll be no news on the Xbox Series X. Can we basically expect the Tokyo Game Show to be exactly a carbon copy of what we saw at Gamescom? Right? I mean,
I talk too much.
Maybe we'll see a little bit more Japanese developers present, but other than that, I mean, I guess I'll go with Jeff or DC. If you guys have heard, I guess, and by the way, shout out to Jeff Keighley. Jeff Keighley did a great job hosting and doing what he could do during these hard times to put on a great show. But it wasn't anything like everyone's podcast were all saying, hey, good show, but lackluster. Is Tokyo Game Show going to be basically a carbon copy of this? Start with Jeff, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good bar to set. Maybe it'll surprise us. Maybe there'll be something there that'll be more exciting than we got from Gamescom. But maybe not. I think it's a good bar to set. I just think people are hesitant about announcing games right now that they know they can hold off. If there's something coming out in the next couple of months, they'll announce it or they'll talk about it. But if it hasn't been announced yet and it's still coming out in even early 2021. Why wouldn't you just hold off on announcing it until things are more certain, or until you're about to release it? So yeah, I would expect most major events like this to continue at this sort of pace until we are more thoroughly through the pandemic.
Well, just to piggyback off what you're saying, Jeff, would you also agree that not only because the developers don't have to, but because a lot of them are working from home and because of the strenuous circumstances, they don't want to put anything out there where they know they may have to delay, right? I mean, is that probably another reason?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so,
they just don't know what's going to happen. So why make any promises? Why get people excited for something when you have the option to wait? If you have that option, if I were in this situation and I had if Tokyo Game Show's coming to me and say, hey, we know you're working on something. Do you want to talk about it here? And I'm looking around like, hey, I'm not launching until maybe March or April next year.
Right.
And things are we don't know what's going to happen next. Things could get bad again, really bad in my territory or all the territories that we work with partner developers. We just don't know. Why even say anything until you have to? So yeah, it's just not going to happen.
And I don't have this on the docket tonight, guys, but I do want to bring this up. Jeff, you just said something and it just completely brought me back to last week. We were talking about, Joseph Staten coming back and this and that. There's a few people that were mentioning it back and forth. Of course, some very friendly wars going on in the chat there today. And and they were saying some people are thinking that Halo Infinite has got a spring 2021 release on it. And Jeff, I just don't feel like that. I feel like with Joseph Staten,
I don't know where that's coming from.
Right, it's a great thing that he's back. But this man is going to come back and he's
on, man.
Well, he's going to put his fingerprint on this thing. He's not going to put a Band-Aid on it. So I mean, I'm seeing. Listen, I'm going to go ahead and be drastic here, and I'm sure that Jeff and DC might think I'm wrong. But I can almost see that 2022 spring or 2022 holiday because I got to be honest with you. I can't see them fixing the errors that exist in a very short period of time when you have the creative genius of Joseph coming back. I don't know if he's going to be able to come back and fix this in, let's be honest, an 8-month turnaround.
Can I just say something real quick on that? Just real quick.
I know you aching right now, bro.
When it comes
you do your thing.
to Satan coming back, he's not coming back to change the story or anything like that. When you look at what they're doing with Halo Infinite, they said basically what Bungie said, a 10-year game. The story is the most flexible part of that game.
I'm not talking about just the story.
It has nothing to do with the story.
In terms of going back, what they're trying to do is they're trying to bring, they're bringing Staten back to upgrade kind of like the Halo 1 look for today's kind of to be more pleasing to the eye to today's gamer and stuff. That is what they are going to focus on. They are going to focus on the aesthetics, and of course, dealing with the aesthetics, you also got to deal with the performance. You got to keep that balance going and move forward that way. But they're not going to go in and change the framework on it or anything like that. I feel like they're going to take the year to really go in and flesh out the look, that kind of like Halo 1-esque kind of like blast from the past look that Halo Infinite had, and they're going to try to bring that up to date. And when it comes to spring 2022 or holiday 2022, myself, I don't personally see another delay in the pipeline because they are going in and just trying to upgrade it aesthetically.
Xbot, I think everything you're saying in a perfect world, I'm right there, right behind you. You look behind you, I'm right there. But the thing is this:
it's not spring release; it'll be a holiday release.
They didn't move people that were in positions of power around in the company. They didn't bring in Joseph Staten because everything is fine. If you and shout out to E Murray, who's in the chat. E Murray's a huge Xbox fan. He's like, Mooch, what's wrong with you? He's like, what's wrong with Halo? Well, listen, E Murray, this is not about me or you. This is about a situation where if nothing was wrong with Halo, you'd be playing it this November. So there is something wrong with Halo.
The fact that they had to bring in a person to go over multiplayer and single player or campaign.
That's not me talking. That's them talking through their moves.
And I'm just thinking, like, if you go back to something as simple, like with the Sonic movie, where they literally had to redo just the main character. That took 3 months just for them to redo the character.
Great example.
So now we're talking about trying to and this is the thing, this game, Xbox, let me ask you this. You're a Halo fan, and I'm a Halo fan too. But do you think that this game is going to be under the most scrutiny ever when they finally decide to show it again?
Oh yeah, definitely, yo. There's non-Halo fans. There is straight non-Xbox fans in the chat right now saying 2022 at the earliest or whatnot.
But you should want it to be 22. Guess what, Box? Do I really want the game to come out in 2022? No, because I was expecting Halo to be here this year. That's what I wanted. But guess what, Xbox? Me as a Halo fan, being that old school person that you talking about, that actually enjoyed what they showed. I just didn't like all the performance issues it had. I enjoyed it, but guess what? The mass majority of people looked at that, was like, this is trash. And guess what? That's going to be the concerted effort of a lot of people when they see the next build of this game. So if you're Microsoft and you're looking at this game's like, nobody liked anything we had to show about this game for the most part. They said that the gameplay was fine, so you probably could just leave that alone. But when it comes to the fidelity, that game has to look next gen. Like, it can't just come out and be what it looked like. It has to look above and beyond that. And you're almost talking about a game that most people probably was looking at like, oh, it looked good, but it could look a lot better. Now it's got to go into the stratosphere of what they can do with this game, because you don't just delay a game this big, especially when it was supposed to come out in like 2 months. 2 months, and they delayed this game for an entire year, and they didn't even give a reaction.
Hell yeah.
So that right there lets you know that just because of that reaction is going to be even more fierce when they decide to bring it back if they don't show a huge improvement in the game that time. So why even put yourself through that situation until you know 100% is going to be there?
Forte, you made a good point. Xbot, your point. Jeff, I want to hear what you is, and I'm not saying your ears to the ground in this nature, because these moves are happening so just as of recent. So I don't know how much it's actually gotten to the media, but like, where do you see Halo Infinite?
Mooch.
They are. Jeff is everywhere. Jeff, what do you think though? Is this going to be a spring 2021 or a holiday 2021, or are we dipping our feet into 2022?
It's not spring 2021. I don't think. The game was close to being done. I think. I think when you bring in someone like Joseph Staten, and you know, when you delay a game that's going to come out in 2 months. It's not because you really have to rework everything. 8 months, not a lot of time in game development, but actually you can get quite a bit done. Games come together in the last few weeks before they're released, and a lot of polishing happens then. It can make a huge difference. And in that framework, 8 months is a long time. So if we're talking about like sometime after summer of next year, that to me still seems totally plausible, totally achievable, and it can make a huge difference in what the game looks like and feels like and how it presents. I think they'll also be more careful with how they present the game next time so that they can avoid some of these issues. I think like if you watch the Digital Foundry breakdown of the game, it's like, well, the reason some of the game looked kind of flat is because they were taking place in the shadow, and the shadow tech doesn't look very good, especially without the ray tracing stuff put in there.
Yep.
So if they can get the ray tracing stuff put in there, well, they can show the stuff off in the shadows, but also they could just like, well, we'll play more in the sun so the game looks better when we're presenting it and stuff. So it's like they'll figure out those little tricks that every other developer figures out, and I don't know why they would make that mistake in the first place. But they'll come out and they'll be fine. But like my understanding is that the team probably was a little bit distracted by some other stuff, and the team was unreliable in certain ways. And Joseph Staten is coming in as a producer. He's coming in as someone who can close out this game. And yeah, they are going to take that time to make sure that they can make the game better in significant ways. And I'm not saying it's impossible that it's going to slip to 2022. Of course that's going to happen. But I mean, man, they're going to spend a lot of money to make sure that doesn't happen. They're bringing in as many people as they need to get this game done. And I think with Joseph Staten's leadership, I think the idea is like, we believe that we can actually accomplish that in a relatively timely manner. And I think there's reason to believe them for that.
Yeah, no, that's warranted. I think everyone's kind of pushing for that. It is a major blow for Xbox not to have that. And I mean, it was just one of those things, Jeff, that we kind of spoke last week on, so I won't really harp on it. But, you know, if all the eggs were in the Halo Infinite basket, you would have thought that all the effort that you just said is going into this game and more money that's going into it, shouldn't have this been done 12 months ago? I mean,
yeah, of course, right?
Let's think about it now, Jeff. Me and you are now okay. You know, Matt Booty, Phil Spencer, respectively. And I turn around and say, you know, Jeff, we got everything on this one game. You know that, right? And you go, yeah, of course. Well, how's it looking? And you sit down. Phil's a game developer. You know, it's not like he's not a suit. You know, and you start playing the game and you're like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, guys. You know, and that's when I start throwing money at it 12 months ago. So that's why sometimes I always kind of claim that there's a bit of a leadership issue there. And I'm not saying that these guys are very, very well versed in the business. These guys know what they're doing, but it's so questionable. I mean, a console release it's like the halftime show at the Super Bowl game. You know, if you're not playing football, it's the most important thing going on for everybody else on staff. I mean, this is a big deal, and I'm just so shocked that they dropped the ball here. We are getting close to the. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, I think that your point about him being a developer, it goes both ways. Like, I think he just trusted his developers, and I think that might have. I think that's when he realized, like, no, I need to bring in my guy, put him in there, and say, hey, get this thing done. And you're right, it should have happened. It should have happened a long time ago. But I mean, we have to remember, like, our reaction and our perception on this game is based from seeing it in a video.
Right.
None of us have played this game. We don't know. Maybe you go in there and you play it, and it is a ton of fun. Maybe it is a riot, and that's why they had so much faith in it. And then once it got out in front of everybody, and people were like, and the people inside the studio were like, well, no, there is a lot of issues that we want to work on that are separate from all this fun stuff that you guys like, and it's stuff that the audience immediately noticed. Can we please delay the game like we've been asking? It's like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. We do want to make sure that every single part of this is shorn up. So yeah, I just think that I could see a reality where even with good leadership, this sort of thing still happens. A lot of games get delayed. Every game. Every game gets delayed. So, but this is the one game where it's like it couldn't get delayed, or else it's a problem. And it did. So now they're sitting there with nothing, and you're absolutely right about that.
I just remember so many times, right? It doesn't matter what profession you're in, whether you're giving a presentation, whatever. There's a lot of times a report or this is due, right? And you'll have your boss say, listen, I know I told you it was due on Monday, but I'll actually give you till Wednesday or Thursday. And that's when you're talking about games that are just delayed, which happens all the time throughout the generation. It's not a big deal. But games that are delayed at a launch, especially pivotal games like this, where it's just a priority that it comes out because it's selling your hardware. It's doing a 2-for-1 really in an aspect. These are the ones where you scratch your head and you go, okay, listen, we've always said, right? A delayed game can still be good, but a bad game is bad forever. We get it, right? And I'm paraphrasing there. I didn't do the term, the actual saying justice. But my point being is that this is one of those ones where it was like, listen, guys, I give you guys a lot of slack. We don't do crunch. I don't come down on you. I don't micromanage. But I need this product on November 20th. I'm just telling you, I need this. I can't. I'll give you a boost or a bump on everything else. You got to give me this product. So that was one of the things where I was just kind of shocked that one didn't kind of get through. Shout out to TrueWiddy in the super chat. He says Xbox One is $500. Xbox Series X will be $700. It is double the power. I don't know about that, True. No, I think True is just getting excited. Rice79, he says Cyberpunk 2077 was delayed 7 months just to polish fix bugs. I mean, that holds some water. And PlayStation Inquisition says,
well, some people also think they delayed it for the next gen coming up as well.
I believe in that conspiracy theory 100%. Is that they had time. Like, another 7 months of polish wouldn't hurt the game. So let's just pretend it needs a delay. So we can launch it with
it holds that holds water, DC.
I mean, honestly, if I'm buying a PlayStation 5 and the same day there's Cyberpunk next to it, of course I'm going to be like, well, I better put that in my basket.
Yeah, but you would have. I don't know. Does that make sense? Because if you would have bought it in March, and that means you didn't have to buy it again in the holiday season. But everyone else who hadn't bought the game already, it gets a second bump. Basically, I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily buy into that.
The other reason is I think that I think people are gonna be hungry to purchase as many next gen experiences as possible. Is why I believe that theory. And I think
because the game's not going to be ready for next gen though. That's the point. I think that's why it's a detriment, because it's not going to have its next gen patch ready to go when these next gen consoles launch. So people might be like, well, I'll just wait until it gets the next gen stuff, so I'm going to hold off. I think that I don't think this helps them necessarily in the shadow of these next gen consoles. That's just my perspective. If that patch is ready, it's a different story.
Yeah, if the patch is ready, it's a different story. Yes.
I 100% think the patch is going to be ready based on nothing. Okay. This is my own speculation, which is why I believe that tinfoil hat theory. And additionally, man, holy crap, does CD Projekt Red have so much power? The fact that, I mean, they could, I'm still so impressed about the news that broke today of everybody who's ever bought Witcher. Congratulations, Witcher 3 is getting a free upgrade patch next year. That is so cool.
That is very cool. I think The Witcher 3, I'm actually playing it through again on Xbox Series X. I think it looks great as it is, but I'll take an extra bump in resolution for sure.
Get some of that ray tracing in there, buddy.
PlayStation go ahead.
I beat it on Nintendo Switch, so after I have that clown car display of it,
oh my God bless you, DC. God bless you.
It was good, man. 80 hours of mud vision.
You should get a reward for that. No, PlayStation Inquisition, the Super Chat says, tell Microsoft to bring back Unreal Championship. So listen, guys, just before we go, Jeff, one quick question, because we did talk about it, and you said, Mooch, we'll follow up when we get there. Just as of recent, it was interesting, because when you were last on, Microsoft had taken the 12-month Xbox Live off the shelf. Now it's back in. Don't get me wrong, I'm not running to the presses like everybody else is. There is that 33% or 20% hike that's in one region, but regions vary and prices vary. Taxes come into play. There's other things. So I'm going to completely leave off the price hike in that one region. But now the 12 months is back. Have you heard anything since you last left the show? I mean, I still think that eventually what you said is going to become a thing. I just don't know if it's going to become a thing in the immediate future, which is what I was saying before. It just seems like guaranteed money. And, these companies, they happen to love money.
Yeah. I think that's all still fairly accurate. I think Xbox Live Gold as a barrier is going to have to go away for free games. I don't see a way around that. I don't see how they come out and say Halo multiplayer is free to play. That's a bad look if then you have to pay for gold. But legally they can't be saying that without adding the disclaimer that that you have to have gold, and they haven't been adding that disclaimer when they've been talking about this. So and that's been I've been noticing that, and I think that's a rough thing to say if you're not doing that. I think you're going to be in trouble a little bit. It just financially, that doesn't even make that much sense. You want as many people playing your free-to-play game as possible, and that means getting rid of the barrier. As for premium games, I still think that also makes sense in the long run. I think the big problem here is just they've had a lot of stuff that they need to be talking about that they haven't. We were expecting the Xbox Series S announcement back in June or whatever.
Yes.
So they've been putting this stuff off, putting it off. And I think they want to, if they're going to announce changes to Xbox Live Gold, I think they want to do it all at the same time as all this other stuff. And so I think we're just waiting for that still. If the Xbox Series S announcement comes, if we get through, all of September and October, and they haven't announced any changes to Xbox Live Gold, maybe something's not happening there. But if we get to Halo and they still haven't changed it, I think they're just making bad decisions at that point. But we'll see.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think Microsoft said I think they tied their announcement to what they were going to talk about with Halo when it came to the multiplayer. And now that they pushed that out, they're looking at it they could still go forward with that probably thought process of breaking Xbox Live free for everyone, especially when it comes to people that play free-to-play games, since that's what Halo was. But now that they pushed it, they're like, well, we're going to dump more money into Halo now because we got to fix some of the stuff that's going on in that game. And Xbox Live is a really good way to,
pay for
supplement that over the course of the next year. So I think Xbox Live Go being free was tied to that Halo announcement of the multiplayer being free. And they were probably going to show that off when they finally showed the MP off. But now that we ain't got it, they're like, hey, we're gonna table that until Halo's ready.
Yeah. Yeah, that may be the case, and I think that's going to be the tell. I really do think, Jeff, of the two tales you just said, the fork in the road that Microsoft can take when it comes to this, I'm going to go ahead and say that I believe more that the Xbox Live Gold and what they plan to do will come to fruition when Halo Infinite is ready to launch.
I think I lean that way too now. I agree.
And I think the only caveat I have still, and you may not agree with this, is that they can still offer to bring down their free-to-play wall while still charging for Xbox Live Gold for, like you say, the premium. When I say premium games, I think we're on the same page when we say like Call of Duty or Madden, etc. Right? So those types of games would still require gold, but if it's Fortnite, if it's Apex Legends, if it's Warzone, if it's Halo Infinite,
that has to go away.
It has to go away. I mean, and that's the reason that has to go away right now. Actually, that doesn't even have to wait. Is their competitors aren't charging for it? So that's really the questionable part there. So yeah, regardless, I think at one point or another, I think we can definitely say that Halo Infinite would be the finish line for where this discussion comes to an end, and then we'll know, did they make the right decision, or I could see you definitely writing a very serious article the very next day and be like, guys, what are you doing? So
yes, I like there's the math. It just backs it up as a good decision. That's why I think they'll do it. So we'll see.
Right.
Getting rid of the Xbox Live Gold membership going into the launch of the new generation hardware, the new hardware and stuff, would have been a massive announcement, especially without Halo Infinite coming out at that time as well. I thought about it, and I even thought about it back into the 360 era when PS3 they had their free online and all that good stuff, and people were like, well, we pay for online and we get that security. And when it comes to Microsoft, their Azure side of things, their business platform pays for that protection already. So I really feel if Microsoft wants to make a huge splash and they really want to get and grab that mind share that they say for the gamers in the community, they got to get rid of the Xbox Live Gold membership. And I think it's a thing that in the long run would benefit them in terms of selling games, selling their platform, and getting a lot more people into the ecosystem, man.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody on this panel, I don't think anybody in the chat would actually disagree with you. Guys, we have reached over the 2-hour mark, and I've kept these fine gentlemen on the panel way too long on their Friday night as we go into a Labor Day weekend. I want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you to everyone in the Super Chat. Guys, before you all leave, please do hit the like button. Please do consider hitting the subscribe button. Mooch has made his word to you guys that I'll do a video a week on top of podcasting, and I've been keeping to my word. I'm planning already to start one up this weekend to have one ready for your middle of next week. You can check my Marvel's Avengers review. I do have the link right below the description. That being said, let me go in reverse order and say, Jeff, it is always an honor to have somebody of your caliber on the show. It is great to have your insight, and as always, we hope you will come back on again soon. Thanks for being here tonight, Jeff.
Absolutely. No, it's a great time. You guys all know what you're talking about. It's awesome to talk with people who are so informed. This is a great podcast. I hope to be back on as well.
Thank you, Jeff. Truly appreciate that. That's probably one of the best compliments you can get. I appreciate that. And then I got my buddy here, DC.
I really touched on that one, man.
Yeah, he honestly did too.
I come back and listen every week just because of that. So yeah, definitely.
Appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Truly means a lot. And I gotta say, I get big fan of Jeff's. I'm also a huge fan of DC. DC puts his emotions on his sleeve and he makes a video and puts it out there for you. DC, don't ever stop being you, buddy. Love what you do. Love the passion in games. Let people know where they can find you. And thanks for being here tonight.
Just youtube.com/Dreamcast guy. We're getting super close to the 200,000 subscriber mark. So honestly, I just want to thank everybody. I feel like, I don't know, it feels like everybody sharing the videos and talking to me and just doing podcasts and talking to friends. I don't know. It's been such a journey, and I know it's not over. It keeps getting bigger, but this milestone feels particularly special. So thanks always for all the talks and all the good times there.
Awesome, DC. And honestly, 200,000 is a massive milestone, buddy. So you should be very happy at where you're at, buddy. That is an outstanding feat. We hope to have you on the show again very soon as well, DC. And then I've got my buddy here, Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. You know this man loves gaming because not only is he here, he's not feeling well, and he's still here. Brap, it is great to have you here, buddy, tonight. Thank you so much for coming in late notice as well. Let everybody know where they can find you, buddy.
Well, Mooch, are you mocking me?
I'm not.
It's
great. You're going to make me watch Infinity War. Go ahead.
I know. I actually might go back and watch it now. But no, a great show as always, Mooch. Glad I could make it, man. And big shout out to Dreamcast Guy and Jeff Grubb for joining the panel tonight. Always a pleasure podcasting with those two gentlemen. And please check out Basement Radio Arcade Podcast live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So always a pleasure, Mooch. Thank you again. And Xbot, I actually met Tony Hawk. Just want to throw that out there again.
Yeah, I wrote that in there.
I actually met him too.
How am I the only person on this podcast that hasn't met him?
Jeff, I didn't either. Don't feel bad.
He lived in Texas for a long time, so you'd see him. It was like a sighting, like Sasquatch. You're like, there it is. There's the skateboard.
There he is. Yeah.
Yep.
He's about the same height, too. That's great. Shout out to and Gaming Forte. I got my buddy here, Gaming Forte. Honestly, tons of great information coming from you, as usual, buddy. It's always an honor and a privilege to have you on the show as well. Let everybody know where they can find you, buddy.
Yeah, man. So he talked about how we give, we know what we're talking about. So I got to give a shout out to Jeff Grubb because he called me out on this I thought I was right. I was like, dude, there's no way that Star Wars is that way. But I had my Star Wars and Star Trek mixed up because Star Trek is the thing.
That's true.
Star Trek is the thing that has the problem with the licensing between accessories, like, all of the collectibles and stuff. They were owned by two different companies. So shout out to you because I hate being wrong, and I was absolutely wrong, and thank you for calling me out on that. So I was wrong.
I didn't want you to get those tweets later telling you, hey, man, that's not right. I was watching you back.
What are you talking about, man? Star Wars, they hunt older. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It was I had that stuff mixed up. But, dude, this was an amazing show. I felt bad because I talked way too freaking much like I always do. Second of all, the channel is almost at 2,000 subs. Guys have been killing it. We're about 500 up for since last month. So
that's great.
All the love, all the sharing of the videos, tweeting, just the community in general, everybody on this podcast. I really, truly appreciate you. Check me out in Gaming Forte, YouTube and Twitter. We talk Xbox. We talk pretty much everything when it comes to games. Brat Podcast every Wednesday. Enrique already, that's the man's right there. Check me out with Slow-Mo Backslap, my best friend in this community. We do our show every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Mm-hmm. It is like something that I literally did not expect to go as well as it's going, and you guys show up every time, every week, and I truly appreciate it. And shout out to you, Mooch, for having one of the best podcasts on YouTube. So I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity too. So guys, have a good weekend and have a good and safe holiday week.
Yes, outstanding. Good point. And then I've got my buddy here, Xbot448, which Xbot, you didn't have to do too much. You didn't have to use too much of that law degree tonight. You had some help from the audience as well.
I had to cut in when it came to Halo, though.
You did.
I'm in there.
You did, but let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, definitely. First off, shout out to the panel. Huge shout out to the chat. You guys have been absolutely amazing, as you are every Friday. Go check out my channel, Xbot448, my YouTube channel. I actually have 2 live shows. Every Thursday is the next podcast with my my band of hooligans over there. We go live every Thursday, 7 p.m. and talk about general gaming news. And then every Sunday, 6 p.m., for my Xbox gamers out there, if you want an Xbox show with no console war talk, no toxic chat, and no talk about any other platform, we just go in all Xbox news, Xbox entertainment, everything Xbox. It is on my channel with the Series X podcast every Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Shout out to my brother Jamie Moran. He is my partner in crime on that show. I was going to say on that project, but we're live, so it's a show now. We're going into episode 3 this Sunday. Huge shout out to everybody who's been joining us every Sunday as well for that show. It's a lot of fun, man, and it's getting busier. Mooch, 2 shows now.
That's
now
great, buddy.
I know how you feel for every Friday and every Sunday. It's hectic, man.
Yeah.
It is really hectic.
Podcasts,
Yeah.
podcasting is a fantastic thing. I truly enjoy it. I truly love it. Love to interview guests. Love to have new folks always on, and I like to have difference of opinion. So it's a lot of work, but when it's something you truly love to do, you just don't mind doing it. That's as easy as I can put it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That being said, guys, I want to say thank you to this amazing panel. Guys, please do consider hitting that subscribe button. We're trying to get Mooch over 10,000 subs. Why not try tonight? Enjoy your Labor Day weekend. Check out the review below the description on the Marvel's Avengers, and we'll do this again next Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you and good night.
Battletoads!
I'm